Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
And welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth as we kick off another week of the Mighty SOR. Our beautiful guest, Lorien Fenton, will be here momentarily. She's in the green room right now, wearing green nonetheless. And, you know, Lorien is one of the most important people in my life in this field. She really is. And she's like just like an older sister who is just taking me by the wings and taking good care of me. And that's why I love it when she's on this show. And we do it about 3, 4, 5 times a year. And every time I have a blast. I have a blast. Before we bring Lorien in, let's say hello to everyone in our chat room so far. Nightmare in the gold medal position. Gold or Goth White taking home the silver with Race Fan in the bronze medal tonight. Grandpa Holland and Gunther, how are you? And there is our favorite Marine, Black Dragon. Thank you so much for your service, Black Dragon. Much love. All veterans have a safe place in our chat room. So come on in and let us know that you are a veteran if you don't mind. Awesome Ann Palmer, Wes H., good to see you guys. Thank you for coming on in. Robert Garcia is here. He'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Stunning Jeanette Sanchez, how are you? The lovely Julie Wheeler is here. Judy, that is. Judy will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio. To the right. Okay, moving on here. We got the Vivacious Vixen Doe. And who else has joined us here tonight? Dirty Filth. Nice to have you here, buddy. Awesome Ann B. Thanks for coming on in. Lovely Laura. Appreciate it when you're here. Hi, lovely Nikki, the Felon 5, Ozzy, oi, oi to you, Scrub-a-dub-dub, how are you? I got to come up with something clever there. I will. I promise you. Just caught me off guard to be that early. Nicholas Shaughnessy, Millennium, nice to have you both here. Richard Elmore, always a pleasure to see you. And who else is here? Well, let's take a look. There's Stunning Cindy. Worsley, how you doing, man? And who else do we have here? Science Bob. Science Bob is here. We love Science Bob around here. The lovely Simply Coco is here. Please let us know what your drink of choice is for tonight's show. We'd greatly appreciate it. Hello, gorgeous Jenny. How are you? And let's see who else is joining us. The stunning Xochitl Paez. Where have you been hiding? My goodness, it's been a while. Eris Mana, nice to have you here. And who else is here? Chris Martin, welcome back. Cryptid 559, good to see you. War Eagle, the gorgeous Cryptid Huntress. Great shows, by the way, this weekend from Jessica Jones on Spaced Out Weekends. We really appreciated that. Great turnout. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. How you doing, buddy? And Digger Dog. Pen Man, how are you? Oob to Joe's Maine. You've got Lolud. Yes, you have. Alien Critter, nice to have you here. Carol Indy, thanks for coming on in. Ruger Ridge, welcome to SOR Chat. Oh, here he is, everyone. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived. Yes, the Doug Shelby. He still doesn't like it when I say that, but I think he's getting used to it. Let's see here. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. Drew Morris, nice to have you here. The lovely Lala B, always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for coming on in. Jurassic Joey, thank you for joining us. Low Pro, how are you? Globe Asunder, it's been a while. Good to have you here. 405er, nice to see you. And who else is here? Eric Austin, welcome to SOR Chat. And we are caught up. Oh, here we go. Simply Cocoa. There she is. Vodka and pink lemonade is the drink for tonight. Beautiful drink. Oh, shit. Thank you for reminding me. There we go. We're officially on the air. Hopefully you didn't see my ass crack on the way up. And the great way to support this show, the super chat is open. So who wants to be first? We really do appreciate the love. And, of course, you can get all your SOR gear on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Lorien Fenton is our guest. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, and hit that subscribe button if you are new. But for right now, horns up. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show planned for you tonight. First, we're going to talk some UFOs and disclosure with one of the best out there. Lorien Fenton will be with us. She joined us in Vegas for the fan party as well. It was absolutely phenomenal. And, of course, right after that, we got a great story from the swamp dweller in the swamp. And the fedora-wearing John Hudson joins us for the UFO report, along with Shirky Poo's News in Hour 3. Let's get right to it. One of my good friends in this field, she's like an older sister. She is. And without Lorien Fenton, I will tell you this, our growth with Spaced Out Radio would be so much smaller than what it is. For some reason, about 5 years ago, Lorien took a liking to us. And she's like, hey, I want you to speak at my conference, UFO CON in San Francisco. And I was like, meek little me. I'm like, sure, I can do that. I can't believe that just moved. Maybe he's here. Who knows? Hey, Ethereal Aura, are you here? Knock that paper down if you are. That would be great. So for people who don't know, let me just do a sidebar here. In my studio, I have a guitar. And in between the guitar strings, I have a note from one of our listeners who passed away back in February named Ethereal Aura. And right before he passed, he was unfortunately not a healthy man, so he chose doctor-assisted suicide. And 8 hours before he passed away, he came into our chat room to say goodbye. And I said to him point blank, I said, I'm going to put this little note in here. And when you're on the other side, if you ever feel the ability to come on by the studio, move that piece of paper. And it moved. I'm like tripping out right now. I don't know whether that was from me, because it's not connected to my desk. I'm a little weirded out right now. I am. This is awesome. All right, back to Lorien Fenton for a minute. We're going to see if that piece of paper is going to fall tonight. Maybe ethereal aura, his spirit is with us in studio. That'll be really cool if it happens. But I got to tell you, Lorien Fenton is a researcher for the last 3 decades plus. She is someone who is involved with MUFON. She is an experiencer. She is an intuitive. She literally is one of the greatest people I feel in this field. And I'm going to bring her in right now. Lorien Fenton, I know you hate it when I talk that way about you
I
because
do.
you're not about accolades. You're not about anything like that. But I have to tell you publicly, and I know I tell you all the time, and I brag about you, but I love you, and to have you do what you have done over the last 4 or 5 years for our growth has been incredible. And thank you so much again for coming on our show.
You're welcome. Can you hear me okay? Everything
You
good?
you are perfect.
Oh, wonderful. I got a new headset and nothing's working right so far. So I'm happy. And yes, I do hate it when you talk about me like that, but it is what it is. And I appreciate you too, sweetheart. You have really, you're always there for me. So I want everybody in the audience to know there are a lot of people in this business that aren't there for you. So when you find a good friend like Dave Scott, who is, there you go. And I even got an extra alien magnet when I was in Las Vegas.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. And so for what people who don't know, in Vegas we gave away a a number of swag items to people who were there, and I actually had a lady locally who owns a resort. And what she does is she's on a number of acres where her resort is, and she's a paranormal ghost investigator. So she was showing off these magnets to me of Bigfoot and she's like, I can do aliens too. So what she does is she goes onto her property, she chops down a very small tree, maybe that's 3 inches in diameter, and she cuts little pieces off, maybe half-inch, three-quarter-inch pieces, and then she paints them into alien faces or Sasquatch, and and uh, and then sells them. So that's how we ended up getting that. And I asked her if she would do a bunch of alien heads and Bigfoot for us, and that's how we got those.
Very cool. Loved it. Love it. I have it on my little magnet by my work desk. I mean, the what do they call that? Yeah, it's a metal thing that we put all of our stuff on. So, little poster board, whatever. It's great. Everybody in the office is going, "What is that?" It's an alien. So, it's a good thing that what you should have done with them, Dave? I know we're talking like shop right now instead of, UFOs, but we should put spaced out radio on them.
You know what? I know there just wasn't the room. Maybe next year.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah, next year. Do it next year. It'd be great. Anyhow, so we had a blast in Vegas, everybody. You've got to be there next year. It was so much fun. It really was.
Well, Lorien, for people who may not be familiar with whom you are, this is a lifelong adventure for you. You're a lifelong experiencer, lifelong intuitive. But over the last 3 plus decades, you've really turned up the jets to try and find the real conspiracy of behind UFOs, aliens, the cover up that goes along with it. Looking back over your time, how has the entire field shifted or changed from when you started to where we are today in this social media world?
Oh my God. Well, I was just going to say that when you ask that question, the first thing that comes to mind is that when I was doing my initial research on anything like this, spirituality, being a psychic, UFOs, there was nothing about UFOs and aliens when I was really doing this. I had science fiction to read. And the very first fiction book I ever read was Arthur C. Clarke's Childhood's End. And I think that was the path for the beginning for me about contact with aliens. Um, since that time, since we all had to read, that's all we could do was read. I was probably devouring at least 3 or 4 books a week, and I was working full time and dancing full time. So and luckily enough, I was in the dance world. Um, and we had a lot of spare time. You'd sit around a lot. It's not like hockey. Well, it is like hockey. You sit on the bench and you wait. But when we got to sit around and wait for our next, part in the show or whatever for rehearsal or whatever, we had time to read. And back then, every dancer I knew was reading something, whether they were reading school text or getting ready to go off to college or, whatever. Everybody was reading something. Me, I was reading science fiction books on. I did find a few books on space travel, like what they thought UFOs were doing at the time, and there were a lot of really fun books on channeling at the time, which is very interesting. The 70s was kind of the Seth era of channeling, so we had that going on. We also had the old books on magic and witchcraft and the Golden Dawn and things like that. So I got a very well-rounded education when it came to the psychic phenomena, the spiritual phenomena, the consciousness group that it's turned into now. Back then, it was just spiritual. Now it's consciousness, and it's changed completely. It's gone from paper to electronics, and that's what we got. It's just completely electronics now. And sadly, and this is the bad part about it for me, is that everybody has to have everything in 15-minute segments, and they're just little sound bites. And I listened to, on the behest of Melinda Leslie and Dave Scott, I have forced myself to start listening to the younger and newer podcasters. And it's been quite an experience. I mean, they're very interesting, and they seem to be very interested in what's going on around them, and they're interested in speakers and people and authors that come on their show. But what they're not interested in, and which really bothers me, and I've been telling Dave this for years now, is that they don't understand the history. They only know what's going on right now. And pretty much most of them have picked up from where the To the Stars Academy started in about 215, 217 in that era, and Tom DeLonge, as kind of like the beginning of it all. And it's not the beginning of it all. What that is, it's the beginning of the government finally coming out and saying, hey, look, there is this thing called disclosure, and we're going to help you get there. And that's where they kind of jumped in, and they have forgotten all they haven't forgotten. They just don't even know about the history of ufology in the world, or even in the United States for that matter. So in a weird way, it's kind of sad, because I listen to them speak and they really don't grasp the past. And in my opinion, you've got to have a really good feel for the past and what happened in order to actually understand what you're talking about now, and where we want to go in the future. And I'm
Well,
not faulting them
let
on
me
that.
interrupt
But go
you.
ahead.
Let me interrupt you on that, because I think you brought up a good point. There are a number of youngsters who are, and when I say youngsters, I'm not talking age. I'm saying in the new
In the
popular
field. Yeah.
social media generation of it. And I think that there are some brilliant minds out there, and some who really do care about the history. But I do agree with you that the majority have no idea what happened previous to the
Yeah.
stars Academy. Sure, they know Roswell. Sure, they know Kecksburg and maybe some other whatever they've
I
decided to focus on.
I
But
yeah.
let me let me reframe this, or rephrase this question here. Why is the history of what happened? Let's go way back to Roswell. Still important today.
Oh, Roswell's important today because it was the first time that our government and the people in that area in the United States got a full-blown front page article saying UFOs have landed in Roswell. And then the denial started. See, this is the part nobody thinks about. Um, Hi, Science Bob. It's so good to see you. Anyhow, that's where the denial started. And that's our first place where we actually got, full-fledged denial. They say a UFO landed in the newspaper across the whole United States. And then 2 days later, they say, oops, it was a weather balloon. And then 25 years later, they say it was crash test dummies that weren't even around then. I mean, they have been doing plausible deniability for, 75 years now about Roswell. So that's what makes it the most important case in United States history of ufology, because that's where it started. that's where they couldn't cover it up anymore. At that up to that point, they had Project Blue Book, and there were certain sightings that happened during Project Blue Book, like the Kenneth Arnold and things like that, but they weren't as big of a deal all over the United States. I mean, we had the Farmington flap in 42 or 47, I can't remember what year, but it was 2 weeks of 4 to, I think it was 8 small, what they called the Bob Lazar, kind of, what was that called? The sports model?
It's subtle, yeah.
Yeah, the sports models were flying around Farmington, New Mexico, and buzzing the main street at 25 feet over the street. And it went on for 2 weeks, off and on all day long, and everybody just knew it was there, and it got written about, but it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like the military did not let it get out, and the people in the town just didn't really, I mean, they reacted, but after 2 weeks of them flying over and doing nothing, nobody seemed to care anymore. It was just so bizarre, and, that never made national news or global news. Roswell is the first one that ever made national news on every paper. UFOs have landed in Roswell, and then they started covering it up.
I don't know if you've been following what's happening in Canada here, but there's been some UFO news breaking out of Canada recently, courtesy of Daniel Otis, who's a freelance writer, where this past Friday, there was an article in the in CTV News on their website, and it actually made it to the mainstream newscast, about how our former defense minister in 2021, 4 days before the DIA report came out last year, was read in to what is going on. And
I heard something about it, but I've been busy all weekend. Can you tell me what it contained, and I'll give you my comments on
well,
it.
well, it basically contained, there was some leaked papers on there about sites and retrievals, who was in the meeting. That those were of course redacted. But
Mhm.
the main story is that Canada got on the board. Now, a story that I'd been working on for 2 years. I want to let our audience know this while we're in this, and I know you'll be excited too. But as of today, we have confirmed for June 1st that Member of Parliament Larry Maguire from Brandon Souris in Manitoba, who brought up the UFO topic around Canadian energy facilities, will be a guest on this show. This will be
Oh,
his
great.
first interview on radio/YouTube, where he will be speaking about Canada and UAPs. He will be, outside of the retired Paul Hellyer, he is the only Canadian politician right now talking publicly about UAP. And
That's
he's the one who
amazing.
shot. And we got him coming on this show on June 1st. Nobody else has him. This is exclusive.
Cool.
And
I'm
I'm,
so excited for you, Dave. That's great. So
so
now what is he going to talk about what happened with this report? I mean, this
we're
exposure?
gonna get right into it because here's something else you don't know. Because I know you're quite busy with your private job and everything like
Yeah,
that.
and I just got back from New Living Expo. I went in on Friday and I just got home today. So I've been busy all weekend with no internet access. So I have no idea what's happening.
Luis Elizondo actually embarrassed me on my show.
Oh, what did he do to you, Dave?
Well, he actually outed me as being the person who got the Canadian government members to talk to US government members of UFOs.
You did that? Oh my God, thank you. That's amazing.
Yes.
How did you accomplish that?
Well, I was on, we do a monthly segment across Canada with a show called The Shift, where we simulcast each other's shows, okay, talking
Okay.
about UFOs and everything weird happening in Canada. Well, one of the politicians happened to be I'm not going to say which one. One of the politicians happened to be listening in,
Cool.
and then looked us up, found my email, sent me an email, and said, I would like to schedule a talk with you. Well, this started 2 years of information gathering and trading information. And one day he says to me, he goes, I'm getting requested for people to talk to Luis Elizondo. Do you know how to get a hold of him? I said, well, yeah, I got his phone number in my phone and I have his email. Would you reach out to Lou and see if we can take his number and give him a phone call? I said, I will do it. So I got a hold of Lou and I said, man, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. Would you be interested, or would you give me permission to give your information to members of the Canadian government? And I stated to him who they were for full disclosure.
Right.
And he says, absolutely, and I will keep you in touch with what's going on.
Great.
And that's how that entire thing started. So when when all of this is starting to explode, every Canadian can blame me. Every Canadian can blame me. That's
Well,
just
we
the
can
way.
thank you right now because that's a real badge of, stick-to-itiveness, and it's important that everybody knows that there are people working behind the scenes to try to get this thing out there. I mean, exposed. And thank you for doing that because, not everybody wants to take on that job. I mean, I've had a lot of people lately tell me I wouldn't even touch the UFO thing with a 10-foot pole, let alone try to, interact with government officials about it. So good for you. Thank you so much.
Well, you know what? I know a lot of people have asked, so I just figured I would put it out there and and talk to you about it. But let's talk. We got about 2.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Lorien Fenton is our guest tonight. Lorien, in regards to the newer ufologists that are out there and not knowing the history, are you enjoying at least a lot of this new energy that is being pumped into the UFO land?
I don't know if enjoying is the right word. I'm exploring it. Let's put it that way. I do like the enthusiasm. I'm not sure that these guys are. I'm not sure what their agenda is. That's the problem. I listen to their shows, and I've yet to hear what. And maybe it's just entertainment. That's the only thing I can think of. My problem is I always separate the entertainment from the researcher, and I used to believe that nobody should be on air talking about this subject unless they were a researcher or really cared about it or belonged to like MUFON or did something where they were in the field trying to make a difference. And that's where I'm wrong. And, I'll admit it. I'll be the first one to admit that I've been wrong by over judging people on this. I realize what social media has done is it has turned it into an entertainment area that I don't quite get because I'm too old to understand it. But it's something that they all get. Anybody under 40 gets it. And I'm glad they get it. And maybe that's the way they're learning now. Maybe that's how research works for these people, for anybody under 40 who didn't grow up reading a book. Maybe this is their book and they have to use it to get to the next stage. I don't know. But part of me is very happy that they're doing it, that they're listening to these podcasts, that they're learning some new information. And part of me is a little upset though, because I listen to what these people say, the podcasters, the young people in the community. And I have heard lately, which really scares me, is a misspoken story of how something went, how the story unfolded. The truth, just like the blind men with the elephant, it keeps changing. By the time they get to the end of the story, it is not what I witnessed when I was there for that event. Okay. And it's just one of my stories, basically was included in one of these, events that were on talked about on the shows. And I know many of the other stories that happened. I mean, I'll give you a quick example. Are we at break yet?
We got about 10 seconds. So why don't you
Oh,
save
go
that?
ahead. I'll save it for later. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Lorien Fenton is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And when we come back, we're going to continue learning about the newer broadcasters, what she feels, and we're going to get into some UFOs, some disclosure, the news that is pushing the limits right now on what we know about the UAP, the government, and who's pulling whose legs? We'll figure it out when we return on Spaced Out Radio for the second half hour right after this. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear.
Yeah, I'm drinking my protein shake.
Nice. Nice. I'm going to be dabbling in my iced tea here momentarily.
Yes, we got to have our thing for our shows. Absolutely.
Oh, I know. I know.
Yeah, I was listening to somebody tell the story about the Corona event the other day. Oh, God. They got it all wrong. They didn't even have the right people. I was like, oh, my God.
Save it for when we get back. Remember, our YouTube audience can hear what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Hi, YouTube audience. Good to see you guys all. I'm glad that Science Bob is with us tonight.
I know. He's awesome. When I talked earlier, by the way, Science Bob, I'm sorry I didn't call you this morning. I will kick myself in the ass and call you in the morning as per usual.
So now when you were doing these phone calls with Lou and this other gentleman in the Canadian military or government, did they bring in the military in on this and help you with like a 3-ring circus kind of thing?
I was not involved in any of the talks.
Oh, okay. But you got everybody together.
I got the party together and then they kicked me out.
Yeah, that's normal. I just did the same thing for the EMP task force down here in America through Homeland Security. I got them involved with some people. And I got everybody on the phone and they said, well, you got to go now. I'm like, okay, bye. Because it was all like, high clearance over my head. No way am I going to be on that call. But at least I got them together. There's hope.
Well, you know what? It was, I know that Elizondo was one of the people. I didn't find out from Lou, but I found out from another source that Elizondo was one of the people who was in that meeting that was recently released. Okay.
Now, this meeting that was released, is there a paper on it anywhere I can read about, or was it just an article?
Yeah, it was an article on ctvnews.ca.
Okay, I'll find it. Was it last week? Friday. Okay, I'll read about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to do that.
I never expected Elizondo to out me on the show, though. I mean, that was
really nice of him. It's actually showing you respect. So you know that.
It was, and no matter what people think of him, I still try to, as a journalist, I still try to call things down the middle. And, I don't play favorites. All I did was put people in contact.
Yeah.
And in the end, I want to be a part of the Canadian story. So
exactly. There you go. You're going to be now for sure.
Yeah, I believe it. I may not go down in the history books, but I will be the dude who started it.
Exactly. And someone's got to do that. That's pretty much what I've been doing all these years is I just get people together and try to make sure everybody's connecting to the right person and getting the stories outed, because that's really the thing.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And, and thank you for having us down in both myself and Lynn Wallington down in San Francisco there. What a great time that was at UFO CON.
We had a blast.
I hope you do it again next year.
I hope so. I'm having a little issue with the hotel, but, that's the way it always is, it seems.
Well, you know what? At least they were friendlier this year. They didn't kick us out of the lobby.
Well, they did. You guys all started moving the furniture. What were you doing? She came up to me and she was like, they can't move the furniture. I'm like, why not? I said, why not? Who cares? She goes, no, they cost money. And if they break them and, I'm like, okay. So I said, I'm not telling them not to move the furniture. You go tell them. So she
never told us not to move the furniture.
Oh, there was a whole group of people out there. I think it was our singing group and a bunch of other people. And she went in there and she just started screaming at everybody, "Stop moving the furniture." It was really funny, actually. I loved it. I thought to myself, well, at least it's somebody else screaming and not me this time. Thank God. You know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We got 30 seconds. I want to say a big thank you to Science Bob, 405er, D. Cohen, and Jenny for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And you can be like Nicole Sakich and be wearing your SOR gear literally 7 days a week. Oh, I forgot to tell you. You know what? I'm going to totally change subjects here when we come back, but we are going to finish up your thought, okay?
Okay. Because,
Here we go.
yeah. This is important.
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Lorien Fenton is here from the Fenton Perspective Podcast. She is a good friend and darling of SOR. We love her, and she is one of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to UFOs and ET contact. Lorien, welcome back.
Thank you. I love being here, as you know. Just to finish up what I was saying about the younger people and what they talk about, and when I say younger, just like Dave here, I don't mean younger in age because some of them are in their 40s actually. But I haven't found anybody over 50 yet. But anyhow, long story short, I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were talking about the Corona incident. I hope most of you know about that. It's where a whole group of people were taken from a conference and they were all abducted at once, if you want to call it abduction. I call it like major contact all at once. And Yvonne Smith and the whole group of people were part of it. And Yvonne Smith actually wrote the book about it. And I'm listening to this podcast and they had Yvonne's name wrong. It was somebody else I'd never even heard of. And they had half of the people that were involved in it, their stories, but from other incidents. And so I was like, wait a minute, they're talking about the Corona incident and now they're talking about all these other stories and they have nothing to do with Corona, but they acted like it was all part of the Corona incident. So this is the part I'm getting a little afraid of. What's happening because it's not being taken from a book per se. Like in the old days, Art would get the book, Art Bell would get the book of the person that's going to talk on his show, and then he would review it and know pretty much what the person was going to talk about and the story du jour of the day, right? And they would talk about it in specifics. What's happening now is all the specifics are gone because no one's got books out there anymore. No one's doing that. They're all doing podcasts or doing whatever. Or if they've researched it way in the past, they don't even have the book in front of them, or I don't know. But they're actually interviewing other people who weren't part of the incident and putting the story out there as if they were, and because it's a historic event, and things are getting really muddled. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is they're getting muddled and confused. And I hope that at some point, and here's what I'm going to do about it, because you know me, Dave, if I see a problem, I go try to fix it. I come up with a solution. I'm starting a television, internet television network like Dave's doing here with his podcast on YouTube and that type of thing. So I have my own channel coming up. And one of the shows we're doing is UFO history. That simple. It's called UFO history. It's going to be with several people. And it's going to start from way back in the 1600s, before even back to, Christ era. And we're going to start bringing you up to speed on everything UFOs that we had all the way up until probably 2015. Because at that point, they're pretty much out there, anything that's happening, and it's all in podcasts and what have you. But up until that point, we're going to give you all the ones you know about, and we're going to give you all the ones you never even heard about as best we can. And it's going to take us years to get to that
It
point, but it's
will.
going to be, it's going to take us years. We've been plotting it out, we've been storyboarding it, and it's like, I said, you guys, we got to be on air for about 15 or 20 years just to even get close, you know, and that's with doing one a day, 5 days a week. So
No
we're
kidding.
like, oh my God. So anyhow, that's what we're going to do. So you guys will have to start tuning into your UFO history lesson is what it's going to turn into for everybody. And you'll get all the stories that we can find and wherever talked about that we can come up with. So yeah, ufology 101. I guess that's what it's going to be called.
That sounds good. I would actually tune into that. I have to tell you something. Big
What?
story. So yesterday, it was Mother's Day, and my partner says, I said to her, well, what do you want to do? She goes, you know what? I want to go out garage sailing. And for some reason in my community, people only hold garage sales on Saturdays.
Oh,
Okay.
right. Sure.
They don't do the Sunday thing. I don't know why. It just doesn't happen on Sundays. But so there was no garage sales around. I said, well, what do you want to do? She goes, well, let's go for a drive. So we actually, in our about 25 minutes out of town, we have a butte, much like Devil's Tower.
Oh, yeah.
It's not as big. So I got some team stump pictures. I haven't put them up on my Instagram yet, but I will be soon, because I do believe they're not rocks, that they're, petrified tree stumps. And after that, I said, well, what do you want to do? She said, well, let's go this way. So we go that way and, turn down the highway. I said, well, what do you want to do? She goes, I want to go get ice cream. So fine, go pull into Dairy Queen, get her a Blizzard. Well, what do you want to do now? She goes, let's go in the forest. Let's just go for a drive in the forest. Okay. So we go for a drive in the forest, and I head up the one road where I had my Sasquatch gifting site. I tried it a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago before Vegas. I couldn't get up there because there was still quite a bit of snow. So we travel up in there and easy. The Jeep goes through, not much snow, perfect. And I figured, you know what? Let's go down to the water. There's this area where we call it the watering hole. There's always a puddle there. Always. And this is where a lot of animals congregate to drink. You'll see wolf tracks, cougar tracks, badger tracks, wolf tracks, moose tracks. So as we're driving, I see these giant moose tracks. They're probably, 6 inches in diameter. That's a big moose. And then as we're going past them, about 25, 30 feet past them, I'm and I drive slow on the logging roads because I want to be able to look down and see at the same time. I don't have to worry about traffic. And Lorien, I found a track of 9 prints.
9 big footprints?
9 Sasquatch prints.
Oh my God. Did you have your partner put her hand down by him, take pictures and everything?
Well, we got a bunch of pictures.
Okay.
I'm going back there on Thursday, and I'm going to cast them.
Oh, great. It hasn't rained, right? Please tell me it hasn't rained.
I'm the only vehicle that's gone on there so far. Knock on wood.
Fantastic.
Okay. So I send my buddy Mike down there today because he wanted to see him. And he decides, no, I'm not going up that far. Just didn't feel right for him. So he's like, I got a feeling. He turns onto the road where I got to go, where we got to go. And he's like, I got a feeling. And be damned if that area he doesn't find more tracks of bigger size.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So this is an area where in 2017, we literally found like an 18-inch print and a 15-inch print.
Oh, Jesus.
And then the forest fires happened, and then everything went dead. And then last year, the forest fires happened again. And I thought this area is absolutely dead. There's no way I'm going to pull my gifting site, and bam, in 2 days, we found 2 different size prints within 5 miles of each other.
Is the forest coming back in that area?
It
get burned.
That part did not get burned.
Gosh. Well, you know what? They've been herded into that area then. You're
I'm
probably going to have tons of sightings, and you're probably going to have tons of food taken. I mean, I think this is perfect.
Well, I am pumped about it because I literally thought this area was dead, and now it's back alive. And like I said, I'm going. I even told my boss at my daytime job today. I said, "Boss, I'm leaving work early," and he goes, "Why?" And I said, "I found Sasquatch prints. Why don't we shut down early and go out there, and I'll show you them." And be damned if a customer doesn't call up and says, "I'll be there at 4 o'clock." We're like,
Darn.
no, no. So we're gonna try and close up work early tomorrow so I could go show them the prints. But
Cool.
I am pumped up. I am
Yeah, I
totally
think that's so exciting. God. Well, now what are you doing about this gifting area? Tell me about it.
well. I just put out toys. I don't put out food.
Oh,
Food
okay.
food is dangerous because if you start putting food out, then the animals become used to it,
Yeah,
and then the area becomes aggressive, and I don't want that.
right. Like
So,
coyotes and everybody else too.
well,
Yeah,
I mean, and there's so much animals out there that in our area that could kill you, you know?
yeah,
I just don't
yeah.
wanna take that chance. So I leave toys. I
Cool.
leave, I leave toys and I leave, little things like rocks, and I'm gonna now that I have 2 areas on one
Mhm.
road, now we're gonna probably, pull the original gifting site and then set up 2 more and see where that goes. See what happens.
And you've
See what
had them taken and moved and
Rarely, rarely.
oh, okay, rarely. All right.
The rocks originally, but nothing else. So I'm just gonna rip it all down. Like, I'm gonna put a mirror up there. I'm gonna put, a lot of other stuff. But hey, let's get to UFOs here. Let's get to
Yeah,
some
yeah, but that is really cool. I'm so happy you found it. That's great.
yeah, yeah. Hairbrush too. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, I'm gonna put a hairbrush.
Airware, they've got to look good, man, for that camera that you're going to get on them
Oh, yeah.
one day.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it. Okay, with UFOs, you've been doing this a long time, and you've seen the good, bad, ugly of ufology, especially when it involves former agents and government officials. We see a lot of government officials lately, like Congressman Tim Burchett, absolutely going haywire, saying we need to start taking this seriously as a government. We know they're here. Is this a good thing that the government is finally getting into the know of UFOs?
I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's one of the best things that ever happened. Part of the problem, though, every time there's a good thing that comes along with our Senate, our House, our government down here in the United States, I mean, it's always a good thing. But the problem is that they're playing with something they don't understand. If they're all contactees on that, in the House or in the Senate or what have you, then yeah, it would be the most amazing thing that ever happened. But part of the problem is religion. And I go back to this all the time with people. You gotta remember, if you're a sitting senator and you're a devout Christian and someone comes up to you and says, yeah, we got UFOs and we got aliens, the first thing he's going to think is the devil. Okay. Then you've got somebody who's not a Catholic or religious at all, that think that they're an atheist, and they think this is all hooey because they don't believe in anything beyond, humankind. I mean, it comes down to their belief, their personal beliefs, how they're going to be biased or non-biased towards what they're looking at. Okay. And that's fine if they were just, a company like the Rand Corporation or something that comes to the conclusion that we're not smart enough to be able to handle it. Okay. You can't handle the truth. But this is our government. And I worry that there's going to be bias towards their belief system brought into whatever conclusions or whatever decisions they're going to make towards helping us or not helping us. Okay. With disclosure. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope that they can keep whatever they feel or think out of it, because the problem we've got is they're making decisions for contactees as well. This is the part that no one talks about. If disclosure happens, What happens to contactees and people that are having contact with ET? Is the government going to swoop us up and put us all in an internment camp while they're trying to figure out what's happening? I mean, who knows?
I want to ask you about that because there is some word, whether it's through my labs or whatever, that maybe, just maybe, there is a list of people, of names of people who have been taken over the years. Do you believe that list exists?
Absolutely. I know it exists. I've had people in deep, dark recesses of places that no one wants to know about tell me that the reason they started taking blood samples from children born in hospitals back in the 50s and starting to blood type you and do all these things was because they knew that the ETs were taking certain families and whatever arrangements they were making with the ETs at the time, they started understanding that if they can catalog all of us on a national database level. Now, people don't understand this also. They had computers back in the 60s. My aunt used to work for HP back in the 70s and 60s when they had rooms full of computers. It didn't make the computer less smart, it just made it bigger and it took more manpower to run it, but they had databases, the military had databases, every base in the United States had a database. They know everything about everybody and they've known for a long time. So trust me, they know exactly whose families are being taken. They know the lineage. They know who's going, who's coming, who didn't make it back. They know who died in the process of this. They've covered up. This is the other thing people don't know. They've covered up the death of people that have had heart attacks or just died on the table with the ET because they couldn't take it. Who knows why they died? Who knows if the ET didn't do something to them? And they've covered up their deaths. I've heard of two incidences, only two, since the 50s. Now I don't know if this is prevalent or not, where they have actually put people back in their cars and made them run them off a cliff or run them into a tree, and said that they died in a car accident to the family. So they never knew what really happened to these people, especially military family as well.
My
So
goodness. So, do you believe then? And I have asked Lou Elizondo about this. I've asked almost everybody who's high up in the know of this same question. I will ask you this question then. Do you believe then that somewhere deep in the Pentagon there is this UFOs Pandora's box that does hold all the secrets to what's happened over the last, let's say, 100 years?
yeah, but it's not at the Pentagon. They wouldn't put anything in the Pentagon. The Pentagon's for, military action that's happening now. And there may be people in the Pentagon that are part of what, if you want to call it, the MJ-12 crowd. I think it's a lot more than MJ-12. I call them the Cosmic 200. There's about 200 people on the planet right now that are really running the interaction with ETs. And there's several races of ETs that we're dealing with. And I absolutely believe that each one of those 200 people are compartmentalized with two or three or maybe 6 to 10 other people within that group. So you're probably looking at about 15 to 10 groups of 10 to 5 to 10 people running different areas of the project, all knowing full well that's a whole project, but they don't know all the pieces. And there's only probably, and I know this is crazy, but there's probably only 10 people on the whole planet who know everything. And I know, and they aren't necessarily people we like to deal with. It could be people from the Bilderbergers. It could be, I don't know. I had a good hint sent to me once about 10 years ago. A gentleman I knew from my old project Avalon days sent me a message saying that there were more people involved in the hierarchy of the like the what we call the Davos group now, the people that run the world financially, that were in charge of this, and there were people out of the military. It used to be just the opposite. It used to be only a hand, two or three people of the money running of the world would be involved in this operation, and now it seems like it's more 50-50 or more so money people, which scares me. I'd much rather have the military running the show, ex-military guys. So yeah, I mean, I absolutely believe that, Dave. I really do. After all I've been through, that's the only way it could be.
Right. And I can understand that and appreciate that. I think it's something that is very lucrative. It's very I think it's a story that you want to be kept quiet on. Uh and here's the reason why is
Yeah.
I tend to believe what a lot of people in Washington D.C. believe, which is that the people of the world, not the United States, the people
Mhm.
of the world, 7.8 billion of us, are not ready for ET contact. The majority.
I
That
believe
includes
that too.
so if ET came down and landed on the White House lawn and said, "We're here for good. We're parking our ships. We're getting out. We're going to tour Disneyland. We're going to go fishing in the Atlantic for tuna. We're going to go wrestle crocodiles in Australia. We're going to go have tea with the Queen and her reptilian cousins." Okay, I mean, what are we going to do as a society? What do you think is going to be the reaction, Lorien?
Well, like you just said, I don't think we're ready. I think most people would be so flabbergasted they'd probably have a heart attack and die. Seriously. I mean, it just there's a whole piece to this that I haven't even brought up yet tonight. And I'm a big proponent that it all comes down to mind control, because the ETs that I've been dealing with have been trying to explain to me for over a 40-year period that mind control is the key here, because we think we're sovereign. We think that they're going to show up and we're going to have a communication with them and they're going to land here and it's going to be like childhood's end. 100 years from now, they'll show their face and we'll all be used to them and blah, blah, blah. The reality is that they have so much technology that is so far advanced than our even being able to grasp, that they can exert a mind control technology over the whole planet all at once. And they could have landed here already, Dave. And I'm telling you, they could have done everything they're doing. They can walk among us. It's just like the movie where you put the glasses on, they live. And it could be going on right under our nose all the time because we don't remember anything. And we especially don't remember what they don't want us to. And I'm going to give you a prime example. I may have said this on the show before, I don't remember. But there's a movie out called Stan Romanek, Extraordinary, the Stan Romanek Story. And when I first saw that movie, there's a gray ET that Stan caught on camera standing outside of his sliding glass door. Now, whether you believe it or not, that's another whole story, but I believe it was real. And I see the CT standing outside the glass door, and I'm going, wow, that's the most amazing thing. And I know the producers of the movie, and I said to them, how come everybody hasn't freaked out about the fact that there's an ET standing there? I mean, he's caught this thing, not the one popping up in the window. That's controversial. But the other one they called the old gray guy. And he's standing there, you see him plain as day, right, in the movie. And Jack said to me at the time, this was years ago, he said, Lauren, I don't know, but you'd think everybody in the world would be talking about it, right? It's disclosure, it's right there, it's on film. He caught it, we didn't alter it, whatever. And so years go by, and finally I decide I'm gonna watch the movie again for the second, third, fourth time. So I do. I watched it 2 or 3 more times. And then my ETs contacted me and they said, "Go watch the movie again." I said, "No, I just watched it. I don't want to watch it again." They said, "No, we want you to watch it." I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I watch it and guess what? There's no ET in the window. There is a black blob with some eyeballs or kind of shiny eye things, and I couldn't tell what it was. It didn't look like an ET. It looked like just a shadowy kind of thing, and it was very vague, and I would never have known it was an ET. But here's the kicker, guys. I had forgotten that there was an ET in the other 4 times or 5 times I'd seen it. It was like it was gone, and I knew something was gone, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And so they said, "Watch it again." I watched it again, same thing, black blob. I couldn't see an ET, whatever. Then they said, "Watch it again." Okay, now this is like the eighth or ninth time I've seen it. At this point in time, I have forgotten that there was a gray ET at the door. And is that minutes or seconds?
Seconds.
Oh, I'll have to
30
finish it
seconds.
when we come back. Oh, 30. Okay. So I watch it again. And finally, this time, I see the gray ET like I saw the first 4 times. I talked to my ETs that night and I said, "What the heck was that all about?" They said, "We told you. We can see through your eyes. We can control you. We know everything you're doing, and we know that on everybody on the planet. And we wanted to show you why nobody's freaking out about that movie. It's because we don't allow them to see us." And we'll talk about it when we come back.
And that's why we love Lorien Fenton around here. She is from the Fenton Perspective podcast. When we come back, more ET talk, more UFO talk, more disclosure talk. We got Lorien for another hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's make it worth it. Let's get the woo up. We can come back right after this. All right, we got about 6 minutes. I'm just going to take a quick break here, okay?
Oh, I might go get dinner. It's been
All right.
sitting out on the. I might go take 4 bites and come back.
All right, you go. I'm going to take you. All right, we'll let Lorien finish her dinner a little bit. So we got about another minute and a half. And let's see, who else is here that I haven't said hello to yet? George Hernandez, welcome back. The gorgeous Marilena, how are you today? Fapster, what's happening? You're always here, Fap. You've never been banned. Sensational Sherry Knight, welcome back. Let's see here. Super Quest, how you doing, buddy? Gorgeous D. Swiger, Jim Morris, good to have you here. I want to say a big thank you to Kira, Grant, Cat Chaser, Science Bob, 405er, D. Cohen, and Jenny for the amazing super chats tonight. Hi, gorgeous Lucy Bell. TMI, nice to have you here. And we got about a minute, about 45 seconds to go here. And Lorien Fenton is our guest. We're having a great night. Oh, shoot. Why did that freeze? I don't even know where that froze. Let's Lorien part 2. All right.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Whiffler. Yeah, Whiffler is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Lorien Fenton and the Fenton Perspective here happening on Spaced Out Radio. And it is a good night for all of us here talking to UFOs and everything strange and extreme. And we were talking about the government side of UFOs and whether or not this is a good thing that is happening. And Lorien, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to have you here. Good to have you here. Apparently, we are getting a little bit of an echo, but that's okay. I don't hear it on my end, and we're just going to trudge on through here. But Lorien, for you, with everything that's going on, do you say that the government getting involved and the politicians getting a little bit more angry with everything and starting to really question the role and everything of the Pentagon, do you see this being played out as something that is going to move the subject forward, or does it have the ability to go right back under the covers again?
No, this is definitely going to be going forward. And the question really is, to what degree is it going to go forward and to what depth? And I think everybody out there listening to the show tonight understands that the government is only going to give us as much as they want to give us, just like our last topic or our last question about, what can we handle? And it's pretty much the same thing. We're going to get bits and pieces of all kinds of stories for the next 5 years. It's going to just play itself slowly out. And I think there's going to be a lot of surprises. I've been talking to a lot of people in different areas about how these guys that are the players with the CIA that sat on the stage at To the Stars Academy that are not part of it anymore. And you guys all know this. Everybody that listens to SOR radio knows that Rodriguez and Semivan both came out as the fact that they are contactees. And what I find very intriguing about this is because of this, there is hope that these guys will give out much more than the straight military guys would have given out had they been in charge of disclosure. So that is the good points of everything that we've got to offer right now, is that these ex-CIA guys that have had some type of contact or seen a craft or whatever they've done are out there working in our favor to get more in depth and disclosure than I think the government would do for us, or the military, if they were in charge, would do it. That's just my opinion.
So, what do you think the overall goal is with everything? Is it
Well,
disclosure?
Well, I don't know, because disclosure is a really weird word. When we were at New Living Expo this last weekend, we had a UFO panel, and everybody, including Danny Sheehan, who represents Lou Elizondo as his lawyer, we're talking about the fact that all of us that were sitting in that room, and there were 200 people sitting in that room, every one of them knows that ETs are real. So are we the living embodiment of disclosure? Is everybody that's had contact or seen a UFO actually had disclosure? So who is disclosure really for? And we got into this whole, thing about it. And it's just, my coffee's being delivered, just like Starbucks delivery. I love it. So anyhow, it's who's doing the disclosure and who are they doing it for? That's what we got to at the conference. Like, who is actually needs it? So it's kind of interesting. Disclosure is an interesting name, and I think disclosure on the government disclosure is going to be for the people who have no idea what's going on. Absolutely no idea. And the rest of
Well,
us, it's not going to be that big of a deal.
well, the thing is, though, it's much like proof. Okay, everybody's proof is different. I
Yep.
also believe that everybody's disclosure is going to be different, because no matter what the government says, we're not going to find out the juicy details of how many bodies survived Roswell. We're not going to
Right.
find out. We're not going to find out about the other crash retrievals. We're not going to find out about the ET contact that has been happening potentially for years. Okay, we're just not. They're not going to tell us that. There are things and
Well, oh
secrets.
no, but wait a minute. Here's the part that is very interesting, and I think this is where Sheehan and Elizondo and all the lawyers starting to get involved in this can help us. We need to start once they say disclosure is happening, once they start working on disclosure through the government in any way, shape, or form, guess what comes next? Once they say, oh, well, we're doing it and we can, and this is our disclosure, and they give it to us, guess what comes next? FOIAs. We can do all the FOIAs we want legally, and they have to answer us. And they may be all blacked out like Greenwald was getting all these years. But now, if they've come up with disclosure and they're talking about it, and it's part of the whole agenda for them, they have to start disclosing what they know. And that's where it's going to be really cool, because then we will get that information, Dave. Absolutely.
See, you're way more hopeful than I am. Way more hopeful than I am. There's too many secrets going back the last 70 years. I mean, think about the potential lawsuits, Lorien, that will happen if all of a sudden 100,000 people see their names on an abduction sheet coming out of the Pentagon or wherever it's hidden.
Do you think anybody really cares?
I,
I mean,
I
if my name was on that list, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. Okay.
okay, but for the thousands of others who are struggling day-to-day lives, nobody believes them. They can't hold down a job. They can't do anything because their contact has been so heinous. All right,
Well,
that it's
that's yeah, there you go. Now, and I'm going to be I don't know how I'm going to be right now, but I'm going to say it. I think people who are having problems with their abductions or their contact or whatever it is, that I think they've got to start reframing it. I've really come to this conclusion in the last year. I have never had a problem with ET. I've never had a problem. And if they showed up in my room today, yes, and the reptilians and the greys showed up, I'd be absolutely freaked out and I'd be so in fear, but also part of me is ready for it and I can deal with it. And trust me, guys, if you're having contact that's horrific, try reframing the narrative as best you can from a fear level. You've got to say to yourself, I am not going to be afraid and I am going to try to figure out what they want to do with me. Now, if you're having a horrible reptilian experience where the guy wants to rip your head off and tear you limb from limb, and he's showing you that like he did to Misha and Melinda, then that's a different problem and that needs to be addressed and you need to take that up with everybody else who's got contact. I mean, don't take it up with the government, take it up with your friends who are having contact and see if you can dissuade or move that reptilian off of that agenda. But anyhow, my point, I'm going off topic, but the point I'm trying to make is I think everybody's got to start reframing their experiences, learn that they have a responsibility to communicate with their ETs on a level that the ETs really do want to communicate with you. Trust me, I have had the most extraordinary experiences with ET my entire life. Why? Because when I was very young, I drew the line in the sand and I said, look, you're not going to mess with me. It's that simple. And I've never been messed with in a way that wasn't, that I couldn't survive. So let's start by reframing that. And then, second, don't blame the government for that problem. If they didn't create it, trust me, Lou Elizondo did not create the problem we're living now. The guys that created that were back in the Eisenhower era and beforehand when they started freaking out about the fact that they needed to shoot down every UFO that came along. They started this problem. So what we need to do is we need to come to neutral ground and everybody's got to forgive them for the past and we've got to go forward in the future working with the military, the government and what have you as contactees and say, look, we're not going to sue you, we're not going to go crazy, but here's what we are going to do. We're going to run the disclosure agenda from here on out. Thank you for having introduced it to the world. But Dave Scott, Lorien Fenton, Melinda Leslie, Misha Johnston, whoever that has been dealing with this their entire life are actually the people that are going to do the disclosure from here on out. We're going to be the MJ-12. We're going to be the guys in charge. And we'll work hand in hand with the military if there's any issues. But we need to be recognized for having dealt with this situation all of our lives. I don't know. Maybe I'm pie in the sky, but
that sounds very optimistic.
I
Very
know it is. It's very optimistic, but it took me a year to get to that point, Dave. I really was very very these guys. I did not like them. You know that. I was very against it in the beginning. I did not like what was happening, but I think there's a way we can work it around to the point where contactees are actually helping out in a very good way. Eventually.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. I want to be remiss because I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this, because something that was hidden in Vegas very quietly was the talk of the super soldier program and the secret space program being very, very real. And I don't want to get into full details of things, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because there was an argument between a couple of people, including Melinda Leslie, at our Vegas event that kind of got out of hand. But nonetheless, I'm hearing even before our Vegas event, leading up to this now, that we may not be that far off in the entire super soldier / secret space program being real.
It's
Okay. Now,
absolutely real.
I have always, me personally, I've always thought the secret space program was real. I just didn't know where. I wanted it to be real. The super soldiers, I wasn't sure about, because I think the people who've come out very publicly about it have done it the wrong way.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And I'm at fault for
And
that. I'm the one who brought most of them out, and I apologize to everybody for that. I really do.
but
Many of them were not real super soldiers, and it got by me, and I was a fool at the time, and now I regret some of it, but a lot of it I don't regret, because I was playing in uncharted territory. I don't know if many of you know this, but I put on the first super soldier mind control targeted individual conferences in 2012, 13, and 14. And many stories have come out of it, many infamous stories, many uninfamous. And a lot of the people that were there, yes, several of them were real super soldiers. Several are not, and they profess to be. And I've had real super soldiers come up against me. I've had the military go up against me. I've had some torture events because of it. I got threatened. I got threats because of it. And I hate to say this, several people died because of those conferences, I believe, because they came out and they told their truth, and they should have kept their mouth shut, because people at that time did not like the fact that these guys were telling the truth. I think now, just a little, the last few years, I think it's coming out more and more slowly. And I'll give one example. In Terry Lovelace's experience, he's on a big triangle ship and it's mostly ET, but he does look over to his right with his frozen eyes as best he can, and he sees over in like a cubbyhole cubicle of a bay where there's all computer screens and all this stuff, and he sees two women, and I may be wrong about this, don't quote me folks, because I hate telling stories wrong, but I think he said two women and two men, or three men and one woman, that are there, that are human, that are working the controls and the keyboards and the whole bit, and they are in what he called a non-animated state. In other words, they were robotically working. And I believe that there are many people in our military that are being taken, young people, and they're being mind controlled into being super soldiers, what I would call super soldiers working with the secret space program. And that's my opinion and my belief. And I'm only bringing up Terry Lovelace, but folks, I have so many others that have told similar, parallel, different types of stories along those lines that are just
okay,
mind-boggling, where they're working with ET.
let's take one quick step back here. So we got about 7 minutes before we have to go to break. What is a super soldier? Many people may not know.
Well, that was the problem in 2012, 13, and 14 for me, because I'm going to a conference and I have this download that I have to put on this conference, okay? And I'm like, okay, I put it on, but I really didn't know what I was doing because I didn't know what a super soldier was. That's why so many of them buffaloed me. Some of them are just contactees that have had extraordinary experiences. Some of them, oh, good luck with the brain surgery, Ed. I wish you all the stuff I can, and I'll pray for you. Okay. I just had to say that because brain surgery is not fun. They're
No.
pretty. So, anyhow, it's very hard to describe a super soldier. What I have come to decide just in the last 6 months is this, folks. Anybody who's working on a secret space program, and they might be in a secret space program ship, flying it or dealing with it or what have you, that has anything to do with ET on some level. Okay. Now you could be working in a base underground where the ships land and you'd be a mechanic. You could be a doctor working with the super soldiers trying to enhance their abilities with ET technology. You could be doing all kinds of things. You could be running a remote viewing program with guys with psychic advancements with them, and trying to get them to see the future. You could be using them in time travel experiments. There's all kinds of things going on. These are the guys I call super soldiers now. I don't include anybody anymore that has only had consciousness experiences or spiritual experiences. These are all people that have hands on the ground, boots on the ground, doing something, got their hands in it, and they're helping advance something with ET as well. That's my definition now.
Okay. So the idea that these people have been, can I use the word brainwashed? Is that fair?
Well, that's fair, but I think it goes way beyond that. I think since we have two hemispheres of our brains and the ETs, most of them have at least 100. We are controlled at a point in either one or both hemispheres of our brains to forget everything we do with them if they want us to, like I was just explaining about the movie. And they can enhance you. They can take things away that they put into you on a neurological level. I mean, I can't explain it, you guys, but I have seen people that are under the influence of the mind control from the government as well as ETs, and they're not that dissimilar anymore. I would guess 50 years ago they were very different. That would have been brainwashing, Dave, because that would have just been like Sirhan shooting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I mean, Robert Kennedy. That kind of mind control. You see what I'm saying? Very different. They snap out of it. It's under hypnosis and all kinds of other types of torture and personality breaking and that type of thing. Whereas the ETs have a much more, I call, elegant and much more thorough and totally unbreakable form of mind control, because trust me, maybe half the planet's been taken and they don't know it, and they'll never know it, and they'll never figure it out. That's how deep their control goes, their mind control goes.
So getting to human Carl's question here, because we never want to be confused with the alien Carl who is at my window. All right. And by the
Ah,
way, Carl is a veteran, and we love our veterans around here. Thank you for your service, Carl. He
you
is
mean the
asking,
ETs? Your ET's a veteran?
no, the human Carl
Oh,
is.
the human Carl. I'm sorry, Carl. I didn't mean that. I was just trying to figure out what he was talking.
No, no, human Carl is one of the very fine, wonderful veterans who listens to our show. And
Great.
when he's wondering, when you're talking about the secret space program, are you talking about 20 and back? So that
Well,
is serving for 20 years, and then they reverse you back to your timeline.
yeah, I don't know. And I'll be honest with you guys. When I heard about 20 and back the first time, I really did not take a liking to it. I've done a lot of research into it. I've talked to people that might have a clue about whether that is a reality. I do believe we have time travel, and it's not like what people think. It's more like going through the same type of portal situation that the ETs have. The ETs have the ability to change their molecular structure through dimensions. Okay. And in doing so, they're also going through time, because time doesn't exist in their dimension like it does here. So they have to, and that's why, and I tell the funny story about the guy. I can't remember who it was, but there was a guy who was laying on his couch, and he watches himself come out of the room with a glass of iced tea and disappear, because they put him back too early. He'd already gone and got the iced tea before he got abducted, but they put him back before he got the iced tea. Anyhow, long story short, and there's the stories of people driving 100 miles and in no time, and they've already gone 100 miles further than where they were. So that's moving in time as well. So, I mean, the ETs screw up time all the time. So, I believe that we have the ability to do that. I just don't know if we have the ability to pinpoint that backwards in time and regress your body so that it's back to its original, physiological self at that point in time. I would believe that we could do 20 and back, but you may end up 20 years older at the same place you were. That kind of freaks me out. That would be horrific. Not to remember 20 years.
With a minute to go, and when we come back from the break here, we are going to get into the secret space program and everything, because I know you're very fond of that subject. Are we, or do we have giant craft that could literally fly through our solar system?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I absolutely know it, for real.
Where are they based?
They're not landing on the earth. They stay out there. They don't need to come down here. Why would they need to come down here?
Humans?
Well, no, they just they transport their guys back down here on smaller craft.
Well, you know what? We're gonna learn more when we come back on Spaced Out
Yeah,
Radio.
Dave's like, oh no.
But hey, I want to know. I want to believe. I want to believe the secret space program real bad. And we will figure it out when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Lorien Fenton is our guest tonight. Secret space program, super soldiers, UFOs, ETs. There's nothing she can't talk about if it's all in the world of woo. We'll be back right after this. Son of a gun.
Which one is that?
What's that?
Is that your master archive recording?
Yeah, my podcast recording is gone for a shit tonight.
Yep. And you know why? Because we're talking about what we're talking about. Hate to tell you.
Could be. I'm going to restart. And
I hope everybody enjoys me eating my Chinese food dinner here.
let's just shut that down because that's garbage for tonight.
Yeah.
I got to open up a window here. Bear with me.
Okay. Guys, I'm eating Trader Joe's Chinese, if you're wondering. It's very good.
Yes, it is too warm in the studio right now.
Oh, and I got my cup of coffee delivered. So happy.
That's nice. That is very nice.
I'm debating on whether I should tell the story about my friend. Well, not my friend, my acquaintance that works within the government that did not tell me point blank, but acknowledged that the big, secret space program crafts exist.
Well, you can debate that all you want. And
I think I will talk about it if you want me to.
Yeah. And
it's nothing big, but it's enough that it's all I needed.
Right. I don't know what is with this tonight. Damn computer. That's okay.
Were you having any problems yesterday?
No, I don't. I only fired up that program for my whatchamacallit. For my radio.
Archives?
Yeah. And the radio side. So now what I get to do is I get to choose a show from a while ago, and I will replay that for the radio stations tomorrow. Let's see here. This is where you have to try and find a show that doesn't have a timeline on it. You know what I'm saying? So all of a sudden I can't use all the UFO stuff. I have to find something completely different.
Right, exactly. Nothing that's like we're talking about Friday's release and
yeah. We'll do a Swamp Dweller.
Swamp Dwellers. We love Swamp Dwellers.
Oh. Our man Swamp Dweller, who has a creepypasta YouTube channel, he has been amazing to us.
Cool.
Amazing. Yeah.
Creepypasta YouTube channel. Huh.
Yeah.
That's something fun.
Yeah. It is good. I'll wait till that's loaded up and then kind of go from there.
Belinda said she was on the show a couple days ago. How'd she do?
She was great. Great. Yeah, she seemed a little tired, worn out, but that's okay.
Hey, we're all getting old. I'm telling you.
I know. I don't like that.
Well, you're a young buck compared to Melinda and I.
Oh, maybe, but that's okay. That's okay. All right, when do we start this? We've got about 1 minute here. 1
Okay.
minute.
What I worry about mostly, and I just realized this, I should have said it earlier, was that we're forgetting about Carla Turner and Arizona Wilder, and we're forgetting about all these women that came forward talking about the My Labs and the abuse that the military was doing to them at the time. And I'm finding this interesting how it's becoming less prominent. Niara, have you ever had Niara Isley on?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, these are stories that were prominent in the 90s and very important to the whole thing. And they're just getting lost.
1 second here, my friend. Big thank you to Jenny, D. Cohen, 405er, Bobcat, Chaser, Grant, Kira, Ed, and Donnie for the super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show. And don't forget to do some shopping on our website as well. We got cool swag there. Here we go. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight, the final segment with Lorien Fenton from the Fenton Perspective podcast, and we are going deep into the woo tonight, just where we like it, isn't it? Oh, it feels so good and refreshing, just like a good hot shower. Lorien, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave. I'm glad to be here.
All right. I want to start with a question from New England here who is asking, there are many people who remember the world ending in 2012. What is this phenomena?
Oh boy, you're asking the wrong person on that one. I think you should be talking to Marshall Barnes about that. He's my time travel dude. I just, I don't know because I didn't experience anything like it and I really haven't done any research on it. So I do know that the Mayan calendar ended then and I put on a Mayan calendar conference around it about all the people that thought that it was going to be a big shift in our consciousness was happening in 2012. And also, and I think Dave, you know about this, there is a cosmic wave that was coming from the center of the universe, which by the way we found out comes in waves, so it's always coming at us. But it was hitting the earth about 2012 and it passed through us for a long period of time in 2012 and supposedly heightened our consciousness during that year. That's about all I know about it. I don't know about the world ending at that time.
Well, you know what? There was always some question as to what happened. And many people believe that it has something to do with the Mandela effect.
Oh,
And
yeah, which is always fun. You know what I think that is? And I'm probably the only one who's talked about this. I think that's a breakdown in the timelines bleeding in together, number one. And number two, it may be residual effects of the mind control that is on the whole planet by the aliens. It may
that's
be a
deep.
breakdown in that too.
That is deep. Right before the break, you stated something very profound that you believe there is a secret space program, number one, which is
Oh,
great. But number two, that you believe that uh, there is these craft that do not park on Earth, that there
yeah.
would be, I guess, bases wherever on the moon, on Mars, maybe on different planets. How Give me the rundown here on how
Well,
this all.
the reason I believe, and I'm going to tell you guys straight up, the only reason I believe that this is well, first of all, I've seen them. Okay, I've seen a big black triangle. I saw it once with just the lights in the corner and knew it was a black triangle. I could not make out the triangle, but I could see the lights in the corner and they were red. Okay, and that was over the house in Anaheim in 2011, and I knew it was a triangle. I could not see the triangle. Okay, that was my first time. The second time was 2014 on 11/1. I was at a MUFON meeting. We decided to call it, early that night. It was cold. We did some things, and somebody said, "I want to go back to the parking lot and look for UFOs with my new night vision goggle." And I said, "No, I don't want to go." And they insisted. We went. It turns out that they were putting it on a camera so they could film the night sky above them. So a bunch of people were standing around looking down at this camera goggle lens thing, and I was looking up. And in looking up, suddenly a very low UFO, big black one with lights in all corners and in the center, appears, materializes, decloaks, whatever you want to call it, right above me, at a 45-degree angle ish or 30-degree angle above a big giant eucalyptus tree. And I'm like, holy be Jesus. Now, it wasn't, 100 feet off the ground. It was probably more like 500 feet. And if it was huge, it was 500 feet. And it was huge. Okay. So, bottom line, I'm looking at this thing and I'm freaking out. I'm screaming UFO, UFO. It turns out all the lights and this is what's weird. And I'm not sure if we weren't all taken. I don't know. I may never find out. But it's like in a blink of an eye, it had moved from its position. It was in one position for 1 second, and the next thing I know, it's over here at a different angle. I mean, it happened so quick that I think now, looking back on it, I used to think, oh, it shifted in a fraction of a second. I don't think so. What I think happened was we may have all been taken, or some of us taken, or something happened, and we were put right back to where we were. And it had moved positions because that's where it was when they got done with us. And it slowly moved into that position and was finished and put us back and what have you. And then it took off so fast I couldn't see it leave. That's how quick it went. So, anyhow, I was at a conference, and it was a science conference. It wasn't a regular UFO conference. And Melinda was with me, and it was the last day, and there was nobody left at the conference upstairs. And at least we thought. And Melinda and I were gambling, and she said, "Hey, Lorien, I'm going to run upstairs and see if anybody's left over that's closing down. I want to talk to somebody. I want to just hang out, and I'm tired of gambling." I said, "Okay, fine." And I said, "I'll gamble for a while longer. If you don't come back, I'll come looking for you or whatever." So 10 minutes goes by and she doesn't come back. And I thought, maybe there are some people left upstairs. Maybe I'll go up too. So I quit gambling. I run upstairs, and there's Melinda, and there's only two people left in this giant complex, right? And it's one scientist guy I know and another guy that I don't know. And they were talking about triangle UFOs. And I walk up and then we start talking about it. And I told them just what I told you guys. I saw this triangle, it appeared, it disappeared, it moved, it took off, blah, blah. And the one scientist I know that is deeply, 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 deeply involved in this whole thing, and I can't tell you guys who it is, looked up at me and said, "Was it ours or theirs?" And I looked at him and I said, "It was ours." And he goes, "Oh, how'd you know?" I said, "Because if it had been theirs, I would have gotten contact. When it's ours, I don't feel any contact. I just know I can see it, but I don't get the whole, communication thing." He goes, "That's right." And that's all he said to me, folks. That's all he had to say, because he's not allowed to tell me what they've been working on. He's not allowed to tell me anything, and I don't blame him, but he can ask me a question and I can answer, and so can he. So there's how it's done, folks. You don't get disclosure like, or you don't get told there's a secret space program by somebody running up to you going, hey, there's a secret space program. It's always clandestine, and it's always in riddles and enigmas and, answering a question.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, anyhow, I just want to say I thank that person to this day for answering that. Anyhow, go ahead.
Before we get to an audience question, I want to ask you regarding that, just to take it one step further. If there is a secret space program, which you and I do believe does exist, what is the purpose of it? Because usually when there's a program, it's for militaristic type ways. Do the Russians have their own? Do the Chinese have their own? Is it one earthly conglomerate? Uh, and are they doing it for space exploration? Are they doing it for contact? Is there a war going on in space that we're involved in that we don't know about? Fill me in.
Well, that's a darn good question, but it's very complex because I don't know the answers to any of it. But I can speculate from the things I've heard over the years. And trust me, that list that I kept for many years, handwritten, of all the different stories I've heard from people that were actually on a craft, flying around in battles, not in battles, mining, or just patrolling, which I find fascinating that there's people up there that have contacted me that have said, I just went up there and patrolled, for 6 months. And then I came back and I got my memory wiped. Here's a great story. Melinda, this is one of Melinda's cases. This guy goes into um, the military, and he wakes up like after he gets sent on this weird mission that he doesn't know anything about. He wakes up in the kitchen. I just like, he comes to from whatever mind control anybody had him under, and he's in the kitchen at his parents' house washing the dishes. And he doesn't remember the last, year of his military service. You guys, this happens more often than you'd want to even believe. How many of these guys are out there doing that? So now, when we get to these guys, they tell us their stories. But what Melinda and I both do is at that point, we start trying to figure out. Melinda does more of the ET or the military side of their contact. When I get a hold of them, I'm usually asking them how their ET situation was. And then I start asking them about how they got into it, because I'm more concerned about what part of the branch of the military is actually deciding you're the guy that's going on the ship. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I think it's really important to understand who's the kids or the daughters of these people ending up on these ships. And they're absolutely real. We are having wars, we are mining, we're doing everything, we're patrolling. I believe it's all happening. And here's another problem. I'm going to throw this into the mix, and no one's going to like this. How do we know we're only on one timeline doing this? When you're dealing with ET, they could be popping us in and out of different portals quite often, going to different timelines, different, times when our Earth was in a different form. I mean, who knows? We could be battling dinosaurs back 2,000 years, 2 million years ago, and then popping back through a portal here now. Who knows that we didn't have a space war here 2 million years ago that we're still fighting now in this timeline? Anyhow, I'm just throwing a lot of stuff out to you guys because I've heard extraordinary stories and I don't discount them. What I do is I try to put them in a framework that makes sense for whatever time they're in or where we're in right now, and then try to see how we can interweave them and see how they could happen in reality.
Lorien Fenton is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's get to Laura's question. Have you ever considered hypnotic regression to remember your contact?
Nope, not at all. I absolutely won't do it. I'll tell you why. Because I understand from the ETs that even if you're going under hypnotic regression, they have already programmed you to remember what they'll let you. And nobody wants to hear that either. And I believe it's the absolute truth. And I don't tell my friends that have got under hypnosis that. I don't talk to anybody about it. This is my personal belief from my contact with them. And that's how pervasive and deep their mind control goes to any contactee. Now, I'm not saying what these people aren't remembering isn't the truth. I believe it's absolutely the truth, but I believe there's so much more to the story that's important, especially for me, since I know about all that stuff. it just, for me, it wouldn't do any good because I'd remember a bunch of stuff, but then still be asking more questions. I think it brings up for me more questions. So if it satisfies another person to do it, then yes, do it tomorrow, do it yesterday, do it whenever you can. It's important that you get your answers, but I don't need those answers. I already have them. So I'm good.
I'm gonna turn Edna's question in. Or let Lara just put a follow-up here. She goes, is it possible that they don't want you to remember?
Oh, of course. Of course. There's things they don't want you to remember. Do you think they want you to remember that they just cut you open and did something really bizarre to you and then put you all back together and told you it was okay to do it? I mean, okay, I'm going to explain something here. When I got my last weird thing that they did to my body, they asked my permission to do it. How many other contactees do you guys know that they ask permission to do stuff to them? Think about that. That's really important. That's because I've taken control. I've at least said to them, I know you're screwing with my head. I know you're screwing with my life. I don't like it. And if you don't want to get kicked, bitten, screamed, or shot at, by me, we're going to have this on equal footing. And I don't mind being your little guinea pig as long as I know what's going on and you tell me what you're going to do and ask me permission to do it. And every time they have. Now, they don't always tell me what they're going to do. I didn't get that far with them all the time because believe me, if I know what they were going to do that time, I would never have done it. But they told me, and it was very specific. We want your, they said, we're going to do this procedure. We have to do it because if we don't do it, you're going to die. Do you want us to do it? Do you want to be back on Earth? Do you want to be there? And I said, go for it. Go ahead and do it. And they did, and they fixed me. So, I mean, I don't know what to say, you guys. I'm a very different kind of case. I don't put up with a lot from anybody, including my ETs. And and I think, the hypnosis is, like I said, it's great for some people, but it isn't for me because I have a different relationship with them.
I had a regression in San Francisco with
Oh, you
Geraldine.
did? Oh, that's
With-
wonderful. How'd it go?
I don't remember it, and I forgot to download it. And she has to resend it to me. I remember snippets, but that is, I'm not ready to speak about that yet.
That's okay. It's
Not
cool, but
ready
at
to
least you
speak
did it.
about
And for Dave, I think it's a perfect thing for you. You're one of the people I would say definitely do it because you're curious enough about it and not afraid of it. See?
Right. Aunt Edna asked, or she made a comment in the chat room that said, I just can't believe that we have this type of technology. Basically paraphrasing that it seems so unfathomable. I'm curious.
Are we talking about the secret space program or the
Yeah.
mind control? Or
The
all
space,
of it? All of
well,
it.
I mean, let's stick with the secret space program on that.
You guys, you've got to. I mean, what people don't understand is our technology was so. In the 40s, we were so far advanced that. Okay, who do I talk about here, real quick? Let me think. Teller, the guy who ran the Berkeley National Lab and at Los Alamos National Lab, the guy inferred to
Teller?
many people. Yeah, is it William Teller? I can't remember. I couldn't remember his first name.
Edward Teller, I believe.
Edward Teller. Okay. He inferred to several people, including Bob Lazar. Oops, what did I just do? Uh-oh. Sorry, guys.
We still got you.
Yeah, okay, good. All my windows opened up on top of us for a second there. Okay, yeah, I back. Oh, I can see you. Good. You freaked me out. Yeah, he inferred that they were at the point where they could do anti-gravity type of propulsion. And this is back in the 40s and 50s. So I know that when I hear from different military friends of mine and pilots and people like that were working on different types of programs before Vietnam War. Okay, this is very important, folks. Before the Vietnam War, right before it, I think that they discovered anti-gravity propulsion. And I've heard 1952, I've heard 1954, I've heard 1953, but I'm hearing the same 3 or 4 years between all of these older people, and most of them are dead now because I was doing this research back in the 90s. So a lot of these guys are dead, but I'm telling you, Teller inferred it. I started doing a little bit of asking around from ex people in the military that my father knew. I really believe it. We had it then. Now, if we had it back in the 50s, trust me, by the 90s, we've got something up in space because the ETs were working with us by that time. So,
Okay, so if this is a case that we have this technology, okay, I'm just very suspect about the fact that we're still creating thousands of pounds of pollution with rockets and whether it's SpaceX, NASA, Jeff Bezos, Virgin Galactic, whoever, that we're creating all of this useless pollution if we already have the technology to be flying up into the stars as far as we know.
why do you think they would let somebody like Jeff Bezos in on the big secret? This guy is running the planet as far as monetary value is concerned with Amazon and everything he owns. He's part of what they keep it very okay. They keep everything very separate. This is my conclusion, folks. We have an economic world and we have a secret space program, military, ET world, and they live on two tracks. I've spent my whole life living on two tracks. I finally realized that's got to be what's going on here because I go to work every day, I do my job, I do whatever. I come home and I do research all night and I talk to ETs. Okay, so how can I do that and keep myself sane? Well, very easily, because I've learned how to live in two tracks. That's exactly what our government's doing. And anybody who's running the program here on this planet, and I'm not saying our government, I'm saying the MJ-12, the Cosmic 200, whoever they know who they are. They're probably listening tonight, and they understand the fact that the people on the planet are the planet. They're running the planet. They're doing the daily grind. They're doing what we need to do here. There is an evil agenda behind it all. And I'm not sure if these guys aren't stopping the other people from doing something too, to solve the problem. But anyhow, that's another issue. And the whole military secret space program dealing with the ETs, all of that is hidden from all of us here, or what I call the surface dwellers, and our economic survival here on the planet. And I'm not going to go into what I think is happening right now with the whole COVID situation and everything else because there's so much going on. But
Well,
yeah,
let's get to Nicole's question. As we have about 3.5 minutes here left with you, she is asking, "What do you know about the SSF helmet, Secret Space Force helmets?"
okay, the helmets. This is interesting because I've heard a couple of guys tell me that there's an interfacing helmet that they've worn that helps them fly the ship or what have you, but I'm not sure how it works. I've only heard mention of it. I haven't had any personal experience with it. Let's put it that way.
If it's out there, I want to wear one. I want to
Yeah.
wear
And I'm not sure it was a helmet. They were more describing some kind of, I don't know. It seemed like they put their head into it and it seems like it was a clear thing. I don't know. The one guy told me it was clear, the other guy told me it was a foggy gray. And it was more like a scanner, more like a scanner type device where they were shining, putting frequency and light into them or something to that effect. I don't know if it was a helmet, but there was something going on.
90 seconds left with you tonight. Tell everybody where they can find your podcasts, your information, and your conferences.
Well, okay. So the best place to go is lorienfenton.com. And it's a pretty bare site, doesn't have a whole lot going on it right now, but at some point here in the next 6 months it will. I'm starting two internet networks, Make Contact TV and JFK Truth TV. And we're very close to launching JFK Truth TV, which should be out on May 29th, which is JFK's birthday. We're going to have an online conference about it, and it should be a lot of fun. And I just hope you guys can make that. It'll be great. Get on the email list. That is the best way to find out about anything about me. And you can always listen to the Fenton Perspective on Mondays at 5 p.m. Pacific to 7 p.m. on Revolution Radio.
Absolutely love you, Lorien, and thank you once again for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Our listeners will probably hear you in another couple of months hanging on out with us, but it's nice to go in some different directions every time, and you're so versatile with that. So thank you for making tonight's show very entertaining.
Thank you for having me. It was lovely. Thanks.
Always, always, and it was a pleasure to see you at our first annual SOR Vegas party, and I know Lorien will be there next year as well. And UFO Con 2023 has to happen. I'm just going to say it
It
right
will.
there.
And you'll be there, of course.
I know I'll be there. Of course I will. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we are going to head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller is back for another spooky story. Then the fedora-wearing John Hudson joins us for another UFO report. Then Shirky Poo's got the news. Spaced Out Radio's Hour 3. Coming up right after this, so sit back, sit tight, enjoy the woo, because we'll be back for Hour 3 next. All right, we're clear.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me. Sorry I couldn't answer all the questions in the way people wanted the answers, but
Yeah.
you know me, I'm always off on a different tangent than most people on the planet.
Oh, I know. I may call you after the show.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll be up. I'm going back to my office computer and I'm shutting down the laptop. Okay.
Not a problem, dear.
So
Not
you
a
won't be
problem.
able to see me, but let's chat. Okay.
I'll call you after.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye. Lorien Fenton, everyone. I'll be right back. See if that piece of paper moves again. All right. Old Davey's back. There we go. And we got about 1 minute, guys. 1 minute. Hi, lovely Lavira. How are you? Jareth Barrett, nice to see you. Yeah, that was really weird with the piece of paper. Oh, it's cooled off in here. So nice. So nice that it's cooled off. All right, 20 seconds. Big thank you tonight to Jenny D. Cohen, 405er, Bob, Cat Chaser, Grant, Kira, Ed, Donnie, Lara, New England, Steve, and Nicole for the amazing super chats. Very much appreciate the love from everybody out there. And we are going to continue on with Spaced Out Radio right now.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Whiffler. Whiffler is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam set the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rocking Out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Now, it's time once again where we head into the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. Hello, Swamp Dweller. I found your channel after a friend told me that I might want to listen to one of the submitted stories. After listening to the story, I quickly realized why my friend said that. In the report mentioned, a group of campers went deep into the Rocky Mountain National Park and encountered a Bigfoot-like creature and a man hunting them. The author of the story said they used a fake name for the hunter, Vince. Well, I believe I was the hunter that the author mentioned. Some of the facts were a little off, but there were enough that I don't have much doubt. My name isn't Vince, but the author did say he made it up to keep some privacy, and I respect that. so I will go by Vince on here. My friend suggested I tell more of my experiences to try to help people, and though I disagreed at first, they convinced me. So let me start from the beginning. The author stated that I told him my daughter was taken in the story mentioned before. That is true, so I guess I'll start my account there. My daughter, wife, and I went to the park for a vacation in the early summer. I was working at a paper mill and had a week off, so the plan was to get a room, hike some trails, and enjoy the nature and the deep woods and each other for quite a few days. The day my daughter was taken, we decided to take a lesser-known path instead of a much more popular one. I will forever regret that choice, and I will never forgive myself for it. It was my idea to switch trails that day, since I didn't want to be around many people. After a while, we stopped so my wife could get lunch ready and my daughter wanted to play hide and seek. I didn't see the harm in it and agreed to play, and for her to hide first, but not to leave the trail but more than a few feet. She was only 4, so I figured staying with the course would be safe. I peeked through my fingers as I counted not to lose track of her. She ran up the trail maybe 20 yards and ducked into a bush next to a tree. I finished counting and made my way up to the path to the bush, faking that I didn't know where she was. Once next to the bush, I kept up the act and could hear her trying to hide a giggle from inside the bush. I walked about 10 feet further up the trail and suddenly turned, trying to surprise her. What I saw will forever be etched into my mind. A large, heavily built humanoid creature stood with my daughter in its arms, holding its hand over her mouth. It was probably 6.5 feet tall with at least 3 feet of width at the shoulders. Even through the thick red fur, I could see its muscles quivering. I don't think it expected me to turn around because the look on its face was almost surprised. My daughter had tears running down her face and was trying her hardest to get free, but this thing was just too much for her little body. Its face looked like a weird mix of an ape and a human, and then it curled its lips at me as if to intimidate me. It had ridiculously long canines. It probably took less than 5 seconds for me to snap out of it and yell at it and start running towards it. It turned and took off up the tree with my daughter faster than I could even make the 10 feet. It made its way about 20 feet up in the tree, then looked down at me, curled its lips again, and proceeded to leap from tree to tree, still hanging on to my daughter. I tried to keep up, but this thing was just too fast. Once I realized I couldn't keep up, I yelled for my wife and told her to help while trying to find our daughter. You know how that turned out. The park rangers went through everything during the search, but no matter how many times I told them what I saw, they would say something about me being hysterical and not remembering right. I stayed after the search ended and kept trying to find signs of my daughter or this thing that took her. I waited until I lost my job for not coming back, and my wife began to resent me. She thought I was crazy and blamed me for failing our daughter. It ended with her leaving me and moving across the area to where my daughter was taken. I began to feel a rage that I did not know I could feel. It built into me for so long. I felt like whatever this thing was robbed me of my daughter and her life. I fantasized about finding it and making it suffer until it died. As my fantasies grew, I began spending more and more time in the mountains, deep in the woods. I landed a job as a trail guide to support myself and keep looking for signs. I started planning how to bring this thing down once I found it. I decided that distance would be critical since it moved so fast that it could be on me before I got a shot off otherwise. I also would need something that could fire quickly and hard. I settled on the gun that the original author saw me with, a Springfield M1A SOCOM scout rifle, chambered in .308 Winchester. It was lightweight, a semi-auto, hard-hitting, and able to reach out over 500 yards. It was a perfect fit. I took tracking courses along with bushcraft, and over time I learned the area of the mountains and woods better than most of its oldest locals. All of this took a few years, and I never found anything the whole time, until I did. I had made my way far into the mountains, and it was early summer, around the anniversary of my daughter's disappearance. I had been in the mountains for close to a week, living off rations I took and some foraging. I noticed that the wildlife was sparse, but just thought it was because I was there. I had just purchased my first thermal scope and was sitting on a ridge looking down into the valley and was scanning. I was trying to see anything. I didn't really know what I was looking for at the time. I was just trying to see what I could pick up with it, I guess. I wasn't expecting to see much, but I was catching flashes of orange through the blue of the trees in the scope. Whatever it was moving at a decent pace, nothing a normal animal couldn't do, until I caught a clearer image of what it was, and I could tell that it was humanoid. My heart skipped a beat and I could feel my stomach in my throat. I remember thinking, no way, I finally found you. I watched it pass behind some trees and then climb up one into a clearing. I calculated that it was probably about 500 to 600 yards out, and I had a pretty clear line of sight. I wouldn't let this thing get away, so I switched the safety off my gun, extended my bipod, and laid prone to give myself every advantage. I had the wind to my face, so I knew it wouldn't smell me. And if I stayed still, I had it. I controlled my breathing and placed the crosshairs on this thing's head. I knew this was a gamble, but I needed to know if I killed it, I would have to do it in one shot. I pulled the trigger slowly and was almost surprised when the loud bang of the 308 rang out. I saw the orange spray from the creature's head, and it started to fall from the tree but reached out and clung to a branch. I put the crosshairs back on it at the center mass and put another round into it. It fell out of the tree and slammed into one of the units on the ground. I watched it lay there for a few seconds before the rage I had built up and bubbled up. I sent every round I had into this thing. Once I finished, I just watched its body lay there. I sat and felt a sense of relief come over me. I had avenged my daughter. I would bring this thing back to town and prove I wasn't crazy. I was thinking of trying to reach out to my wife after all these years when I heard a scream from the direction of the body. It was the most blood-curdling thing I'd ever heard, and my first thought that this thing was still alive. I jumped back on my scope, and what I saw sent chills through me. 2 more of these creatures were standing over the body, and were pushing as if trying to wake it up. I was frozen with fear. At that point, I had never considered there might be more than one. I watched one hurtle up the tree and began looking around like it was trying to find whatever had killed its partner. It looked directly in my direction and began shaking back and forth, almost breaking the tree and screaming. I slammed another magazine into the gun and took another shot at it. I saw the orange of its blood and the thermal scope spray out from behind it, and it jumped down to the ground from what had to be almost 50 feet up in the tree. The one on the ground was helping it up when I took a shot at it, and from what I could tell, I missed. It quickly dragged the wounded one with one arm and the dead one with the other into the forest where I couldn't see them anymore. I'm not going to lie here, I panicked when I lost sight of them. I was beyond scared and started building my fire to the point that it was a hazard to the forest. But at the time I didn't care. The rest of the night was uneventful, and as the hike back to town was very uneventful as well. That was the first time I found them. And it wouldn't be the last. I'm not going to go into every encounter since they get less dramatic and more like hunting stories as I learned their behavior. I knew that they preferred the deeper, more undisturbed parts of the mountains, and that the one that took my daughter was the closest one to town that I have seen, which leads me to believe it was an outcast for some reason and driven out of their normal area. They are hyper-aggressive while hunting and very efficient as well as intelligent. I don't think they are normal Bigfoot that get reported from my research. They stand a little shorter, and the large, almost baboon-type canines aren't reported in most Bigfoot sightings. Not to mention the aggression is much more with these. I assume they are similar subspecies, but I'm not a biologist and it doesn't make much of a difference. It doesn't matter to me that they are probably an endangered species or anything like that. They took my daughter, so I'm going to keep taking them until there are no more. I know that's not healthy, but it's where I stand. If you decide to read this for your viewers, they may have questions relating to Sam White Owl and characters that claim to be cryptid hunters. And if they wonder if I have any relation, that would be a no. I don't even know if those stories are true or not, but I've never even been approached or talked to anyone except for a friend who has encouraged me to write this. Now, if there is a secret society of monster hunters out there, I could definitely use the help. When I ran into the author and his group, I was only a few years into hunting them successfully, and have had quite a few more run-ins since then. But they are getting more common. They are getting smarter, and better at avoiding me. Whatever those things are, they are hunting me back. But luckily, I have found an ally in my friend, who is going with me now. They had a violent encounter while elk hunting a few years back and have the same drive I do now to hunt these things down. I know this is a lot, and it's not the typical story you read, but it does feel good to get some of it out there. The last author said to check the trees if you go into the forest, and they were right about that. But that's not always enough. Stay out of new parts of the mountain you're unfamiliar with unless you're in a group and armed. These things are fast, intelligent, and lethal. They hunt in packs and are rarely alone. If you see one, another one is already near you. Imagine the raptors from Jurassic Park but able to climb trees. Thanks for giving me a place to speak about this, and please, if anyone hears this, listen to me when I say, stay on the mountain trails, and take this seriously. It could mean your life.
Oh, that's just creepy. Absolutely creepy. Could you imagine? I could never imagine. This is why I am careful when I go out looking for Sasquatch. Got to be careful. Always careful. All right, let's get to the fedora wearing John Hudson and the unbiased UFO report. He's got new music tonight. Here we go.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
What do you think of the new theme there, Fedora John?
Love it. I should get like a little video of like my daughter like headbanging to it. It'd be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, she has far more hair than I do at this point, so I would do it myself. But
24 really seconds of pure hardcore madness for the fedora wearing John Hudson. Always a pleasure to have you back, my friend.
How are you, Dave?
I am very, very excited.
Yeah?
Very excited. Yes. Excuse me. And let me give the reason why.
Yes.
I did earlier in the show, but we've had a lot of people change up since then. I have booked for Spaced Out Radio on June 1st, Canadian Member of Parliament for Brandon Souris in Manitoba, the Honorable Gentleman, Larry Maguire, who brought forward a couple of weeks ago the UAP question of UAPs over Canadian nuclear facilities.
Gotcha.
All right. And I got it booked today.
Wow.
And then going on the news that Daniel Otis had last week, that, the UFO topic is finally heating up. And this will be the first and the longest public interview that Larry Maguire has given, and it'll be right here on Spaced Out Radio.
How long will it be? What's your plan?
We have him for an hour.
So I gotta ask, just because if I was listening, I'd want to know this. For someone in your role, considering the topics you focus on, is there any like apprehension on your part that you'd be able to like fill the hour, or is it more like you could fill like 18 of them and you're more worried about keeping it into the hour?
Well, there are certain guests that you bring on that, look, you're blessed to get them. The time doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It is going to be jam-packed with information. I want to know why. I want to know if he was in on the meetings. I want to know who he is talking to. Does Canada have its own UFO desk like the United States does? Are we getting one? Is it in talks? I'm going to hit him up for a bunch of questions.
And how does he feel about the new Kids in the Hall thing coming out? That's important too.
Yeah. Sure. It's hockey playoffs right now, man. It's hockey playoffs.
What is it? Hockey? Oh, hockey. Right. Hockey.
Yeah. And let me just find something here, because we're not on the radio side right now. We had some technical difficulties there. Let me just find these, and I will show them to our audience. Where are they here? Where did I put them? Oh, well, they're not there. Let me find them.
It's in the hall. I'm so excited. I'm squishing your heads. I'm squishing your heads. The girl you drink drunk was the best routine. That was just him in the closet with all the blenders and the fruit.
Oh my goodness.
Freaking comic gold.
Is it in here? Did I put them in here? I put a few. I'm trying to find the photos that I took yesterday. I think I sent them to.
The ones of the what you were going to cast.
Yeah, the Sasquatch prints. Here we go. I'm just going to move
when do you
this.
plan on casting those?
I was going to go today, but work didn't play very fairly today.
Oh, what? Someone wanted to do something like buy something, like maybe like okay, yeah. Hate it when customers do that.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the trail. You'll notice there's still snow in the area. Here's the trail. It starts off in this upper area here, and then it comes through. There's a footprint there, another one there, another print here, another print here, and then it seems to turn around. There's another print there, and that's my ham hock right there. And you'll see this print here, unfortunately, due to the shadow. Should have put my foot.
Dave, you got big feet.
No, they're only size 9. This is about a 10-inch print.
Oh, okay. Right. So that's not like a big footprint, I guess.
No. This is what so you can see the toes here.
What, you find like the runt?
Well, it's called a juvenile. And then the edge of the foot here. Here's the rounding of the foot.
Would the juveniles be out exposed at the same way that the adults would be?
Well, according to Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, juvenile prints are very, very difficult to find.
Interesting. Oh, well, that's good to know. That's that means your find might have value in more than one area. By the way, Duke is going to be on
Jimmy Church
this week, I believe. I think Thursday. I think we should check. We should find out because that should be good.
And here's another one. I'm going to try and clean these leaves out of there. I got to get some tweezers.
Okay, so is the assumption then that like they're walking and for the most part they don't leave prints, but they occasionally leave one because they're just not paying attention, or do they occasionally stop and like grin and think he, and then like press a little harder and then we'll keep walking and leave
really
one?
Thin. These feet were really thin. Really thin. At first, I thought it was work boots. Okay? I really did. And this is back to the original print here. I really thought it was work boots. But the problem is when I looked in closer on this part here, especially on the heel, there was a couple things that I noticed. This creature, whatever it is, right in this area, had a really large, high arch in its foot. Number one. But number two, this heel here, unless someone in the middle of the cold was walking in bare feet, because it could be a human foot. I don't know. But it would make no sense for someone to say, hey, I'm going to go walk in some mud, especially out in the middle of nowhere when, it's cold out. But I also thought, like I said, it was a boot. But no, I'm not saying about. Okay. A boot, A-B-O-O-T, 2 words, a boot, okay? But there was no tread that was sinking into the dirt. So that's what kind of caught me on this.
Gotcha.
Right? That's what kind of caught me on this. The length is about, I wear a size 9, and these are about a 9.5, 10. And that's the first one right there where it was stepping in. Now, I'm not sure if this is one from the same prints or if that's a bear track. Because there does seem to be some claw, looking what we call claw prints, and that would be a very tiny bear. I'm not sure about that one.
Interesting. Now, do you ever see any of the dermal ridges that some other people were collecting before?
Yeah.
And is that something you automatically see? Is that something that's fairly obvious?
Hard.
Hmm.
So that is, and then there's one more here, just kind of going over. You could see the trail right there. Yeah. We don't need to worry about the break. We're not on radio. Understand. So you got the full trail here that's going on. And I'm going to get out there on Thursday and take another look out there. So, hi, Stunning Jessica. How are you? Lazarus, I don't care. No offense. I'm not trying to be rude here, dude. Don't care, but we don't slam people in our chat room. You know that. Vaughn, thank you for the super chat, dude. Appreciate that. Much love your support, man. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Once
And
again,
so
there.
now, when do you think you're going to cast them? Tomorrow, then?
I'm hoping to. I'm going to go back out there tomorrow because my buddy Mike went out there today, right at the entrance of the logging road. And he went. He just had a feeling, and he went into this area right along a creek, and he started finding prints there too, different size prints, different shape prints. So we've now got two different spots on the same road, and there we go.
Interesting. You know, it would also be very helpful in the future, as you guys are doing this, when you do castings, to also include with the casting some aerial photography done with a drone, so that you can actually show where the castings were, what direction they were pointing in relation to trails or tree lines or power lines or anything like that. So then you could then make some contextual linkage to physically where they were found, along with GPS tags and so forth, but have some kind of a visual picture from a drone, maybe 30 feet up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you forget FLIR. I'm just saying, just good photography, you know?
Yeah. Alien Critter, yes.
Cool stuff.
Yes, right. You know what? I promise you guys, when I'm out there on Thursday, I will take more pictures. Normally there's a couple of big puddles there that we are normally looking at when that we call like when we pull up to these puddles on the road. They're usually quite big, not deep, but just big, and they are perfect areas for animal tracks. And like at one puddle you could find everything from birds to wolves to coyotes to everything in between, bears, cougars, lynx, everything, moose. And so it's a very active area. Right?
And they are seasonal in that they migrate, correct? So they'll come to a certain area but they won't necessarily be there all year round.
Yeah, we're going to do some casting on that and go from there.
Did you hear my question?
I'm sorry?
I asked if when you find them in your area, whether they stick around all year round or if they're seasonal.
I don't know, John. Because that area, when the snow starts to fall, it'll get 3, 4, 5 feet of snow in there. And there's just no way to get in there unless you have snowmobiles, right?
Gotcha.
So, yeah. I wish you could come up here. I'd love to show you the area.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, aside from just the print, it's got to be gorgeous.
Oh yeah, dude.
Well, I mean, I've been through a lot of I've been through a lot of Canada. I'm well aware of how pretty it is there. I think it's probably one of the prettiest countries in the world.
Laura, I would say yes, that they are omnivores here. Hey, Kevin, how you doing, buddy?
But they only
Just wait for the music to die down here. Just wait for this to die down. Just again, the alien critters question: were the tracks facing in the direction of high ground? They were heading up up the road. So the road was on an incline from water. They were probably 150 feet from water. There's a big in that area. There's a big marsh in there. Perfect. There's a couple of marshes actually. The prints were on the, like if you're driving down the road, the prints would have been on the left-hand side, and then 150 feet in, you got this giant marsh pond, whatever you want to call it, with an island of dead trees in the middle that I would love to cut down and put in my firewood stack. And then a little bit down further where the big puddle would be where the animals drink from, just down from there, there's another marsh as well. It's very marshy in that area. So there's a lot of good water sources. There's a lot of moose and porcupine activity in that area. And the land that we're trekking is all, it's all what we call crown land. So it's all public land. All right, John, let's get to her, buddy.
That was some cool stuff, man. That was like, I mean, I wish there was some opportunity just to. It's one thing I need to research in my own area. Is just there's got to be places, just places you can go just to, be able to observe anything unusual. I don't, and whatever whatever field it may be, just whatever. Yeah. So there's kind of some interesting stuff going on. So the first fun one is our friends over at the Sun, which generates all sorts of emotions in all sorts of directions. But what we have is a pretty entertaining article that is specifically talking about an interview that Lou Elizondo did. But the entire slant of the interview is very, very, very focused on abductions. And very, very focused on the fact that that Elizondo is essentially in his role as head of ATIP, essentially confirmed from their point of view that abductions were being looked at by his organization. And now I don't me personally, I would have to double check that myself. Because to be very, very honest with you, just because you see Elizondo quoted here, I wouldn't take that to the bank as to say that he actually said that. Just you just want to be a little bit more careful. But essentially, what they do claim that he did was they asked him, did you investigate military personnel suffering an abduction? To which he responded, yes. And unfortunately, I can't go into it more than that at this time. So I mean that, assuming that quote was taken verbatim, then that is pretty damn close to a straight up admittance as you're going to get. So I think there's a really good chance this is all playing out how it looks. But I do find it kind of interesting that this entire article is kind of approaching it with a very focused view on the abduction aspects of it, versus all the other things that Elizondo was talking about during that interview.
You know what? I like how he's getting a little bit braver to talk about it. And what we also have to remember, too, is that when he starts talking about these type of questions, he has to get permission to discuss them first. And his higher-ups, whoever they are, at the Pentagon or the alphabet agencies, are the ones who are saying, okay, now you can talk about this.
Yeah, well, it's actually there's boards. I mean, it's a very rigid approval process. It takes quite some
absolutely
time.
it is. Absolutely it is. So it's amazing. It still amazes me that they're opening up that type of conversation.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely agree. I think it's very, very, very interesting, and I think it's the other thing I'm curious about too is that, do we have a scenario where someone like Lou, for example, okay, so take for example, there's another individual who will occasionally present on topics, and he will actually send his presentation to the agency to have them check it beforehand, right? So then the question becomes: is someone in Lou's role basically navigating through the ebbs and flows of the community, and then when they run into things where they feel they need more legroom on, they then go back and submit something to say, hey, we'd like to talk more about this? Or is it something more shall we say manipulated, where it's a sort of thing where, because of the length of time it took, actually all this stuff gets approved maybe on a year time frame or maybe a 5-year time frame? Lou has a whole boatload of things that he's then releasing on an agreed upon schedule. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of the stuff had to get properly declassified quite some time ago because of the lag involved in actually getting those things declassified.
Right. Okay. So I just find it thrilling. I do. That it is opening up to the conversation. All right, let's move on here to the second topic du jour, which will be pyramids, money pits, and Skinwalker Ranch. What's going on there, John?
This is cool. Okay, so so muons, okay, are particles that come from the sky and go into everything. And essentially, when a while ago they discovered, and boy, am I simplifying that. And a while ago, you remember they found this new cavity in the Great Pyramid at Giza. And they haven't been able to explore it yet, but they did find a large cavity. Well, the way they found it was with muon detectors, right? And the Great Pyramid was the first time that I'm aware of it's been used in archaeology like this. And basically what happens is that they have to go underneath the area that you're going to explore, and they lay down these different plates and so forth. And essentially it takes a long time. And as they start gathering all these muons, because of the way things are impacted as the muons hit them or go around them or through them, or however it deals with that material, they can essentially what it becomes is damn beautiful radar for underground, right? It's damn beautiful radar for underground. Now, we all heard about it happening with the pyramid. Well, then in the season finale of that Canadian show, Oak Island, they announced that they had partnered with the same company that that did the Giza pyramid, and in that episode, they started syncing all the collection devices around the island, and they're actually going to image Oak Island from the bedrock up, right? Which means we are going to get a basically what it means is that there might be no more hunt and peck. It'll just be, oh, look, there's a cavity. Is there anything in it? No. Oh, look, there's a tunnel. Is there anything in it? No. Oh, look, there's a, well, there's a good connection between the Oak Island team and the Skinwalker Ranch team. So, while I haven't heard any of this directly, and I've actually asked, I've at least on not formally, but just asked him on Twitter. I did ask Brendan, if he looked into this yet. But I think that if the Oak Island guys actually see significant success, because the company's actually made a lot of progress in their technology, if they end up seeing significant success, I think there's a good chance that in a year we might actually see the same sort of deployment at some place like Skinwalker Ranch or another location that we're all vastly curious about what might be going on underneath, and we want to be able to eliminate what is underneath from the phenomenon happening above, so that we can start like caging where things are happening and where you can start mucking with things, right? Like right now, it's so hard. I mean, you could spend all your life looking for a surface level source and not even know that every source is actually 60 feet below, right? I mean, it's a rotten way to do things, right? So having those muon, basically being able to do that, it could be absolutely huge. Like I said, I haven't heard anything specific about Skinwalker Ranch. The only thing I know for sure is what they're doing it at Oak Island. But I'm very, very excited about Oak Island doing this, and I'm hoping that it turns into other sites as well.
Finally, tonight with you, John, the To the Stars Inc. Media, whatever the hell they are these days, are back again crowdfunding for money. Some may say begging. I'll use crowdfunding.
Well, I don't even know if, well, I mean, is it really I don't know if it's really crowdfunding. It's just a stock offering. It's just a stock offer. I mean, I guess you could call it a crowd offering because they're not doing it. I guess they're not doing it as part of a SEC. Anyway, the point is that it's the same sort of thing they did before, right? So when TTSA first left their stock, did a stock offering. When was it? I think it was 2017. Was it 2018? Whatever it was. They did it then, and basically it's all just you send the money, and they basically send you the certificate. And so basically what's happened is that as as TTSA has evolved, now that they're transferring into a media company, I guess there's I guess there's some, well, I don't know what. Okay, normally when you do a stock offer, you give a story around it, like why you're doing it, like what you're planning on doing with the money, and like why it's important, and all this stuff. So I don't know what their story is for this. I don't know what they're claiming they're going to do with this money. And the other thing I haven't been able to find out yet is exactly what their pricing's at, because this is something that's really, really important to pay attention to with startup companies. And that is that each time they go out for money, right, their valuation should increase significantly. What that means is the price per share should go up. Even though it's not publicly offered, even though it's not trading anywhere, you manually turn it up, right? You manually, if what happened with TTSA was they did the first stock offering at I think it was $5 a share or something. They did the second one at $5 a share, and it was like, ooh, that's not a good sign. So I don't know what this offering's at, but I'm really worried it's going to be at $5. So we'll see. we'll see. But the thing is that, I mean, when you get down to it, the whole pitch for TTSA, as I understood it before, was, look, we know how to do media, right? But we really want to do is science. We have people to do the science. We don't have the budget or the facilities to do the science. So we're going to go do the media stuff to raise a bunch of money, and then we're going to get a bunch of money from you, and then we're going to go back and do this crazy science. But the truth of the matter is, the science was the crazy risky part. What they were actually good at and knew how to do was the media. So what they're really just doing is focusing on what they're good at, right? And to that end, if they come out with, I mean, you look at what happened with, okay, I shouldn't use this as an example because the people that were involved in this organization are on a completely different playing field. But you look at like the DreamWorks team, right? Or like one of these movie studios that comes out, at some random time, and suddenly they come out with like 4 or 5 decent hits in a short period of time. That becomes an influential group of creative folks, right? And so, if it turns out that TTSA ends up putting out, 4 or 5 different media properties that all end up becoming, significant revenue generators, then there really could be a return on that investment. And so you really could argue that this stock offering is far, far less risky than the previous ones were. But I haven't actually read into anything to know for sure, and I'm certainly not offering any technical or financial advice. Please consult your stock folks and everything. But it is a very interesting occurrence, just especially because it is TTSA, and it is our favorite boy band, Tom DeLonge, right?
Well, let's get to Shirky Poo's news, man. I know I just can't believe they're doing it again. I cannot believe they're doing it again. And
well, let me add real quick, Dave, that you don't do this unless you know there is some appetite, which means they went out and they actually got a bunch of people to agree in principle that they would buy if the offering was made. And it's only when you get about 20% of what you want to give out subscribed to prior that you really feel safe going out. So that's the really funny part. The really funny part is they got a bunch of people to do it.
God bless them. Let's get to Shirky Poo's news.
What time is it?
It's time for Shirky Poo's news!
Oh, yes, even Shirky Poo got a new theme song for the news. Well, the self-proclaimed time traveler's back, John. I know you love this. Yeah, made some lofty new predictions for the coming months. Yep, let's see what they are. Judging by the time traveler boom on TikTok, yeah, take these with a grain of salt. And let's see, TikToker Kawhi Leonard, who goes by the handle. I don't think it's the actual Kawhi Leonard. And let me just get to... for those of you who still aren't on the side of social media, dozens have come out of the woodwork claiming to be from the future in order to warn people, including Kawhi Leonard, who goes by the handle at the Hidden God 1. I don't think it's the real one, not the basketball player. And yeah, this time traveler, by the way, 175,000 followers on TikTok. One video that's been seen 6.7 million times tells viewers that a leaked document from one of those time mover highlights 3 dates set to remember. First up, July 14th, America's biggest ever earthquake will be nicknamed the Great Split, will hit, rupturing the ground in the process.
When?
Well, it's extreme weather. That means California might actually.
But when?
July 14th.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Oh, neat. That's really soon. I like
right.
predictions that are coming fast.
Yeah. August 9th, 2 million people around the world will mysteriously disappear. Okay. Well, that's aliens.
Ghosting people on dating sites is not the same thing. That's different. but oh.
And then on October 3rd, a cryptid creature called stalkers starts showing up around the world. Time Traveler warned us December 2021, nothing happened. And, of course, everybody's calling out the BS on that. All right. Let's see if he's right. How about this one? Where's the story here? Oh, there is no story. It's on video.
The question is that would you use TikTok?
No. Well, probably because it's the big medium right now.
That's true.
Right? All right. So, Canadian tennis player Denis Shapovalov, well, he's in trouble right now because he threw a tantrum at a tournament in Italy. All right. And he went total John McEnroe. Total. Yeah. So this is what happens. Shapovalov.
But this is a hockey player, right?
No, this is a tennis player. He's ranked number
he
16. Ranked number 16 in the world. He gets into it with somebody in the crowd, and then when the crowd starts booing him for arguing with the tennis supervisor, he yells at the guy, "Shut the fuck up." I can say that because we're not on the radio right now. Okay?
Have a Coke and a smile and shit.
Exactly.
God, I love that line. That was so funny.
Oh, it's so awesome. Oh, God bless Eddie Murphy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally true.
Yeah, so he's in trouble now. Come on, Dennis. You got to hold them emotions in while you're on the court. All right, here's another one. I don't know how high this sheep was, but residents in a small New Zealand town were surprised to discover the culprit who smashed a business window. It was an escaped sheep. Michael Walsh showed security camera footage on Facebook of the late-night vandalism just outside of Auckland. The video shows the sheep repeatedly attacking its own reflection in the business window until the third headbutt actually shattered the glass. Yeah, it then ran off. Like it had done the job done. It got it done. And finally, A.J. Cuxey of Knoxville and his grandfather attended Kentucky Derby on Saturday. They had a day to remember for the grandson. Why not? The grandson convinced his grandpa to put $1 down for him on Rich Strike, who won the Derby at 80-1 odds. So this young little kid, Grandpa gave him the winnings of $163.60. How's that? Thank you to Shirky Poo for the news, Fedora John for the UFO report, TTSA begging for money again, and of course Swamp Dweller and Lorien Fenton for coming on tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends,
make a mistake. We're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yeah, the Woo train docked for the night, my friends. But soon we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. can just hear Quest right now. Take it home, Captain, you gray-haired bastard. Hammer it, you jerk. Absolutely. I know he laughs every time I do that. Love you there, Super Quest. Hi, John.
Hi, Dave. So when did you lose the radio?
Sometime in the third half hour.
Huh.
Yeah, not good.
Weird.
Not good. It happens, so it'll be better tomorrow. Check this out, people. First time.
What?
Well, I'll show you here. We have crocodiles. Saltwater crocodiles.
Okay,
In
first
Old
off,
Defiance River.
Dave,
Look at the size of them behemoths.
How do you know they're saltwater crocodiles?
The color.
Oh.
Crocodiles are usually darker color. The salties are more of a yellowish green. I learned that from playing my wolf game.
And are they at all different creatures? Do saltwater and freshwater crocs is there nature? Do they have different?
I think the saltwater ones get bigger. They're the bigger ones.
That would make sense.
Look at the teeth on that thing, though, John. Look at the teeth.
But it would not be fun to have those. They would be so hard to clean.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's why they eat the bones and everything. The marrow cleans the teeth.
And and the thing is that you're half tail.
I know, but look at the size of this bastard right here.
See, I would always want to be in the water so I could pretend I wasn't so heavy.
I mean, this body right here is a third FAP's head. And I'm talking lengthwise.
About a third, I'd say half.
Quarter?
Yeah, it's hard to say. But I have a hard time getting the teeth around his head, that's for sure.
Fapster, don't even insult Kaylee Cuoco.
So then, is the assumption that those two are buddies? Or
maybe
just tired adversaries?
Well, no, they're soaking up the sun to heat their bodies right now because they're cold-blooded, right? Or they're warm-blooded? Which one are they? I always get that confused.
They're cold-blooded. Cold-ish blooded, yes. Cold-blooded animals don't they don't really have ice cold blood.
Crocodiles.
They can just have blood that matches the water temperature.
Cold-blooded. Yes, they are cold-blooded.
It'd be cool. And so laying in the sun will heat. It's the same reason why snakes bake in the sun.
So, for people who get confused like I am, crocodiles are not capable of maintaining and regulating their body's temperatures according to their surroundings, and thus are cold-blooded animals. Body temperatures of crocodiles is not constant and fluctuates with a change in surroundings. They cannot survive in extreme temperatures, which is why they are probably cold right now and they are taking in the heat.
It's kind of interesting because it basically means that they don't have an internal thermostat separate from the outside world. It's actually a really bad design.
Well, this one almost moved. He's passed right out. Look at the size of him. Look at how his belly is jutting out here.
I think he ate recently.
Oh, yeah. Definitely ate recently. But it's nice to see a different selection of animals.
Mm-hmm. Just so people know about California, there needs to be a plate thing for you really to get a gap. And the truth of the matter is that we have a lot of fault lines, but we don't really. There's not really any way for half of California to fall into the ocean. Like that, the whole thing is a myth. It doesn't really work that way.
You're going in. You're going into
Now,
the ocean.
what could happen is you could have enough of a shift that I could end up much closer to the beach, and that would be cool.
Those wildebeest there.
I could be like 10 minutes from the beach instead of like 45 minutes from the beach. Yeah, an hour and 10 minutes to the beach, really.
Oh, you know this thing's going to be dead soon.
What, the tree? What?
The little one right down here. Oh, you can't see it. It's right underneath the banner. For some reason, they got half the camera pointed at the sky because, that's useful.
Well, I've heard some people do that. Those people, those crazy people that look for UFOs.
That'd be kind of cool to see a black triangle fly over.
Be bad.
John
Be
Music. John Music.
awesome.
How's that beard and hair combination, man? Because you're usually pretty high and tight.
It'd be awesome to see like some like triangle like show up and see like a bunch of people in the triangle looking and gawking and saying the same kind of like things that you're saying. Everyone's just looking at animals.
Is here. I don't know what kind of animal that is.
Oh, you know what? That's what someone. So that woman in South Africa who talks to animals. That's one thing that someone should get her to ask one of the animals. Is have they ever seen lights in the sky?
Oh yeah,
That's
actually a good question.
That would be very interesting. I wonder.
That's actually a question. Okay, these guys are boring. Let's go.
I bet you anything that there are like take some place like I like the plains of Africa, right? Where you have these watering holes and trees that have existed for a long time, and a lot of creatures have come and lived and died there and so forth. I wouldn't be at all surprised if once in a while they don't get orbs that fly around. They don't get some sort of light activity of some sort. Hey, do you see that someone finally captured earthquake light on film the other day? Yeah, there's long been rumored that earthquakes somehow cause the release of light, and it's been rumored for a long time. Personally, I've never seen it myself because I've never been in an earthquake at night, especially not outside. But yeah, they actually caught it on film. Kind of cool.
Very cool. All right, nothing happening in Namibia.
Oh no, Jess, I was just joking that the reason why they were pointing the camera at the sky was because they were looking for UFOs, and Dave was looking at animals. So.
Let's go to the cat eye. Except for that one day with the elephants, we never have good luck on this camera. Never have good luck here.
You should do one of these days, Dave. Instead of going to and go to this, well, I don't know if you can do that without. I don't know how easy that'd be to do. It'd be funny if we all jumped into one of Swamp Dweller's Twitch rooms where he plays one of his horror video games, and we could all like.
He was played earlier before the show. Let's go on Twitch. Let's go see if he's on Twitch right now. No, he's offline.
I keep meaning to see what's going on with Twitch these days. For a while, like they were doing some crazy recruitment things for their people.
I don't know if I'm a fan of Twitch. Yeah, Swamp Dweller's offline. I really don't know if I'm a fan of Twitch.
Night, Nicole.
But any hoodles, I'm going to take advantage of this and head off to bed early, my friend.
Yeah. So you have no idea what happened to your radio connection then?
I'll have to reboot here and figure it out tomorrow.
Interesting.
But we'll get her figured out. We'll be good for tomorrow.
Good.
Well, say a big thank you to Jenny, D. Cohen, 405er, Science Bob, Cat Chaser, Grant, Kira, Ed, Donnie, Lara, New England, Steve, Nicole, and Vaughn for the amazing super chats. Really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow night, okay? Tomorrow night on the show, we have Lily Nova, CE5. Yeah,
Ooh,
CE5 and Starseed Contact. Going to be a good show.
Far
Yeah.
out.
See you, buddy.
Take it easy, man.